Dare you speak to me in
You're speaking.
You have some idea of what I could do. Don't try your powers on me. Try looking into that place where you dare not look. You'll find me there staring back
You mustn't speak.
I remember your Gom Jabbar. Now you'll remember mine. I can kill with a word.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Everybody hearing me good? I had a little bit of a technical problem with the opening there. It's a little stuttering on me a little bit. I think it's working for you guys, but it's not working maybe for me. All right. Well, let me know if there's a problem. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toplofty Lounge. It's episode 96. Can you believe it? 96. Conversations for the Elevated. Welcome to all my fellow snobs. I am your host, Science Fiction Snob. This week on the program, we're talking about all things Dune. But before we do, let me introduce my co-host. He is the Stilgar to my Paul Atreides. It's Cam. Wait, he's not here yet. Oh, sorry. Cam's a little bit late. He's be coming in before we get going. Let's just chat a little bit. And first off, we'll say hello to everyone in the chat. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about Dune. It's good. Dune, one of my favorite universes. I consider myself fairly knowledgeable about it. So we're here, we're going to talk about the books. We're going to talk a bit about the movies. And if anybody has any questions or, they want to talk about any specific aspect of any of the books or whatever, hey, we'll do that. Okay, well, let me say, good evening to Madman. Madman's here. Good to see you. Umbras, good to see you again as well. Dune, any particular version? All versions. We'll talk a little bit about this and a little bit about that. Neutron's in the chat. Good to see you, Neutron. And, of course, our most loyal viewer, Weatherman. Hello and to you. Good to see you. Now, Dave is here. Greetings from the Guild. Is that the Spacing Guild? Oh, those perverts. Oh, I hate those guys. Oh. Good evening to you, too. Before JT is on, hey, good to see you. Right on. We got a good number of people here. Looks like we got about 10 in the chat. Hey, that's good enough to get going. Did I miss anyone? Oh, Outpost Nerd. Oh, dropped in just at the end. The sleeper must awaken. Yes, he must. He must. Good to see you made it awake for this episode. Yeah, all right. Okay, I'm not used to flying solo here, guys. So, I'm going to have to, I don't have anybody to bounce off of. But Cam will be in here momentarily. He's working at his other job. Good help is so hard to find, I gotta say. All right, so normally we just throw it back and forth a little bit, wait for people to get in. I gotta say, things have been going on for us. What have I been doing to keep up my sci-fi snobbery. Drag yourself in for the spice. Yes, free spice for everyone. Pass it around. I got my younger daughter to watch The Fellowship of the Ring. So I'm slowly getting her into this nerd stuff. So we watched. I have the extended edition of the 3 DVDs. So I got her into that. We watched the extended edition of The Fellowship 2 DVD discs. So she said she enjoyed it. And then we happened to be at the library later, and I said, I'm not a big. I mean, it's been a while. I never was able to get through The Hobbit. I was like, oh, how long is he going to spend all this time describing this party? So I kind of put it down. I haven't tried to read it since then. I should try again. But anyway, we happened to be at the library, and I said, hey, why don't you grab The Hobbit? She's like, oh, I don't know. You don't like it and stuff. I said, well, it's been a long time. Maybe you should just try it out anyway. So she got it and sat down and was waiting for me while I was doing something else. And she started reading it. And, she didn't put it down. I came back and I was like, how far are you in? She was only like 8 pages in, but, it must have grabbed her a little bit. So, hey, it's working. My evil plan is working. Watch Lord of the Rings before Cobalt gets his claws on it. Yeah, I got my DVD copies. No one's touching that. I don't need to watch this crap that other people are putting together. That's a bunch of garbage. What else? Oh, we just watched a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the few good Marvel movies from this area. Not great, but better than nothing. All right. Here's Cam. Let me add him to the stream. All right. Cam, welcome. You made it.
Hello.
All right. Okay. First, how's it going?
Sorry I'm late. We were having a riveting conversation on the other show.
Right on. Okay, first, the important questions. Which background? Or this giant worm background?
This one.
Worm? You like the worm? All right, well.
Yeah.
If the chat overrules you, we'll have to go with that. But I kind of like this one better, too. Yeah. Okay, before we get going, I will mention that Q2Cast puts it in here in the chat. What is going on? Cam is hammering away.
Oh, sorry. That was.
Are you killing something?
I'm on the other computer.
Killing that keyboard. All right. Everybody. Just to let you know, hey, Derivative Jill. She hasn't been on this channel before, but she's supposed to come on our channel in a couple weeks. We're going to be talking about Star Trek movies. She got. I haven't spoke to her. I don't know all the details, but she got her channel demonetized. I think she's like she was at 1,500 subs or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I could be wrong on that. She was. She was on. I've been on a show with her before. She seems pretty cool. She got demonetized. YouTube doesn't give you much when they demonetize you.
Funny how that happens, isn't it?
Blah blah blah. She says that they say that they think that she's an AI or that her content is fake or something. And I'm like, what? I mean, she seems pretty much like to me.
Get ready for that, everyone. Your life is going to be, this is the example for everyone's life. It's like, oh, you don't get to drive today. You don't get to buy groceries today because the AI has determined that, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That Butlerian Jihad. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, I don't know what's going on. It just sort of happened a couple days ago, like last week or early last week or something, or late last week. I'm not sure. Madman knows a little bit more, but she's got, you can donate there. And she also has a Patreon if you want to check that out. I'm not sure what she's going to be doing. I guess she's going to still be on YouTube, I guess. You don't get, she was getting ad revenue and stuff that was helping her out, and that's not getting that anyway. Anyway, go check her out. And hopefully when we have her on the show in a couple weeks, maybe she'll give us a little bit more information as to what's going on. It doesn't seem, it seems a little weird. Okay. Anyway, all right. Cam, you got anything to talk before we get? It says we got 12 people. That's a little bit. It's pretty good. It's better than what we were doing in the past. So hopefully this is a good topic. Is there anything you want to mention about you did this week?
Yeah, I did have an anecdote, but since I'm so late, maybe I should just let it go.
Okay, was it a short one?
I mentioned about. Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see my thing flashing. I went to this show that I mentioned that I was going to go to sell some stuff. It was a miserable failure, which I was giving.
Oh yeah, that was this week.
I was giving Snob the play-by-play, and I just wanted to mention there was a kid. I was selling a Lego set, a Millennium Falcon, from like 2011. It goes for like $275. So I had it marked for $275. And this kid comes over and he's like, "Will you take 170 for it?" And I said, "It's a little low." I said, "I'd take 200 for it." You know, this is a kid. He's probably 10 or 11 years old. Okay, this genius, this kid plays me. he's like, "Oh, well, that's all I got is 170. So, later on I see him, he comes by, he's kind of looking at it again. And I said, "Hey, kid," I said, "I'll sell it to you for 170. So this this brilliant negotiator gets me to drop almost my entire profit on this thing to give it to him. But I'm a soft-hearted guy that was happy from seeing a kid get a toy that he would enjoy. He's probably going to turn around and sell it on eBay for $200.
Now it's on eBay for $500.
Yeah. Well,
Is that the only thing you sold, or was it a miserable failure?
I sold. Technically, I did come out, ahead. Meaning, it was only $50 for the table. So pretty
sold $50
cheap.
Worth of product.
Well, no, I just told you I sold 170 for. I don't know. I a little over 200 is what I sold. So it was crap. No, Dave, it wasn't in Ohio. But I wouldn't tell you if it was because, for reasons.
Cam likes to keep everything very, very secret.
It was kind of a failure. I did sell some comics though, actually, which surprised the hell out of me. There was some old guys. This old guy, probably 10 years older than me. He sat there and looked through I made like bundles of comics, like runs. And he sat there for like 10 minutes looking through all these things, and then he left. I'm like, okay, that's about it. But he came back. And he's like, can I get this? And so I was giving people discounts. It's like if they were buying anything, I'm like, yeah, sure, you'd take this or whatever. Yeah.
Wow, what a softie!
Yeah, I know. I
never guessed that you'd be that way from the show.
I know.
You hear that, people? You're learning good stuff here.
This is all an act. Me being an a-hole is an act. I'm really a wonderful person.
Well, how I programmed you. So,
oopsie.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Right
okay.
You got something else?
Yeah. Well, can you fill for 3 more minutes?
You got to go make a sandwich or something.
Yes, I need to take a brief break.
Okay, I don't think I can.
Well, sorry.
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. Off you
go.
Oh
yes, Snob, I'm listening to you intently. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Cam is not the. Yeah. What do you think, Cam? Oh, silence for. All right. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. So what do we got here? We're gonna get started right off the bat here. Like I said, the plan is to go through. I think that's all of our personal stuff. We've wasted enough time. When Ken gets back, we'll get right to it. We're going to talk about the novels first. We're going to talk about we'll talk about the Frank Herbert novels. Then we'll talk a bit about the Brian Herbert and the Kevin J. Anderson novels. And then we'll go back to we'll talk a bit about the movies at the end, I think. If there's if you guys have any questions about anything or something you want to talk about, just shout it out in the chat, and we'll go over it, because there's some interesting things. I have some concerns about this Dune Part 3 that's coming up for the movie wise, and we're going to talk a little bit about the contrast between the two movies, between the Dune 1984 one and the latest ones, contrast them. But I got some thoughts about that. But we'll start out with the books. I think that's the best way to go. So let me just look here real quick. Is there anybody in the chat's got anything? Can you shout out my name? It's Dixon Mays. Oh, no, I get it. Dixon my as. Oh, yeah, I get it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark Green in 91. Yeah. Good thing I can't pronounce anything. Otherwise, I would have got caught by that. Yeah. All right. Right on. Good one. Okay.
Classy. Super classy.
Classy. We finally, we got some trolls. Where's our main troll when you need him, eh? All right. No sci-fi channel adaptation. No, I didn't plan on talking about those ones today. We could talk about them. There's the miniseries on the Sci-Fi Channel. There's 2 of them. I didn't review those specifically before this. I have seen them. It's been a while ago. Yeah, we can talk about that if anybody has questions about it. We can when we get to the movie part. Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, Cam, you've seen them, right?
The miniseries.
Yeah, the miniseries.
Yes.
One. Yeah. Okay, we can talk about them. I wasn't planning on it, but okay. The chat runs the show. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about the books first. Let me let's pull up my little slides here. There we go. All right. So, Cam, you've which of these books have you read? Any of them?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, all of them, or some, or
I've read all of them.
All of them. All right. Okay. Well, we should have a good conversation then. All right. Right on. So, the Frank Herbert. Snob is too sophisticated to fall for that. Yes, I am. I am just too sophisticated. Nobody talks about dinner in the Arkane Palace the first night Paul and Jessica arrive. Yeah, that's a good one. Nobody puts that in the.
Okay, I love that. I absolutely love that scene.
Nobody puts it in there except there's in one of the in the miniseries. There's a scene of. Dinner scene, right? But that's not the first dinner they arrive, I don't think.
Okay, wait a minute. And that's the one where they have the guests from the different various organizations and houses and things.
Is that the one you mean, PB?
And that's Leto steps away and Paul basically takes over kind of the hosting of it and everything. If that's when he's talking about that.
And there's the water tellers, and they
right.
Throw the water to the people afterwards, and they're like, "I don't like this. You got to do it."
I loved it because that's a complaint I have. I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I loved the political element of all that in there, and then the book, just kind of went on to what the rest of the book was, and I really wish there was more of that. I kind of
What, in the movies you mean, or just in the book?
Well, in the book, I mean. It's it's kind of the story isn't specifically about that. It's more like the background setting, in which we got this little peek, and I really did like it.
Well, I mean, the books are about all kinds of politics, ecology, religion, conservation type stuff, all of it. I mean, they're so they're so dense with information and difficult in some cases difficult to read. I never found them. I found them, easy to read. But the greenhouse in the palace that Jessica finds. That's from, I think, is that Fenring's wife that set that whole thing up? I think it was her.
I believe so.
When he was when the Harkonnens were on the show, he was there and watching over things, and she was there. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start with Dune. I mean, it's the classic. It won the first Nebula Award, was it, or the first Hugo? Damn, I forget which one.
It was Hugo, wasn't it?
Well, it won a Hugo and a Nebula. It won both of them, but it was the first. I think the Hugos were first. So it won. I believe it won that. That was the Nebulas were already established, and then it was the first Hugo in 1966. So it won that. 1965 was written. Can you believe that? Yeah, Lady Margot Fenring. Yes, Count Fenring's wife, Bene Gesserit. Yeah. Okay, so maybe we should just the chat's chat. You're all over the place. Maybe we should just answer questions from the chat as we're going through the movie. This
is a very broad topic, and
I know. Well, let me give you the first. Let me just in case there could be somebody watching who doesn't know anything about Dune at all. So I was maybe I should give a quick blast about all 6 of Frank Herbert's books, and then we can go on that, right? So Dune starts off in it's 10-191, right? And basically the House Atreides, which is the good guys, house, honorable and everything, are going to take over Dune, and they have the Harkonnens have had Dune. The Emperor gives control of Dune for a set period. Usually it's 100 years, and I think the Harkonnens have had it for 80 years, and they for some reason The Harkonnens have decided to, the Emperor's decided to kick the Harkonnens off, and the Atreides will take over. Of course, the Atreides and the Harkonnens have been enemies for thousands of years since the Valerian Jihad, really. But anyway, they don't like each other. So this is a little bit early for the Harkonnens, but it's actually an evil plot by the Emperor and Baron Harkonnen to get rid of the Atreides, because Duke Leto Atreides is a nice guy. Everybody likes him. His army is getting more and more powerful. He's more popular in the Landsraad, which is the parliament of the Empire, and the Emperor's a little worried about him, so he basically wants to get rid of him. So that's the plan. They're going to give him Dune, and then they're going to come in and kick his ass right after, which is what they do. They take over Dune. Of course, the Atreides spend all this time checking for traps and all kinds of nasty things that the Harkonnens have set up for them. Yet they get betrayed by Dr. Yui, who is their doctor. He's supposed to be uncorruptible, but the Harkonnens have corrupted him, and he turns off the shields, kidnaps the Duke. The Baron comes in, attacks. They take over the planet. Everybody's supposed to die. Duke Leto dies, but Paul and Jessica, his mother, escape into the sands. They basically meet up with the Fremen. They spend about 5 years in there. Paul, making peace with the Fremen, getting to know them. Also, I should mention, the Bene Gesserit have set up Dune to come for a Messiah. The Fremen have been, trained for thousands of years. This is part of their mythology, and they've prepped them for this. And Paul is the Kwisatz Haderach, the super being that the Bene Gesserit, this group of a bunch of old ladies, basically, have been working for 90 generations to breed him. And he's the guy, and of course they want to control him, but he defies their control. They basically take back Dune, kick the Harkonnens out, and with it, Paul becomes emperor by marrying the daughter of the emperor. And that's kind of the quick back and forth of the book. Now I forgot everything. Don't drag me in the chat. I purposefully went really quickly, that kind of thing. So yeah. All right. Let me. In the first book, the Harkonnens declined to formally declare war, and we see that the Baron used to touch Fate as a boy. So much set up about why he's a monster. Yeah, the Harkonnens are perverted, sick monsters. And if we segue into the movie a little bit, the Baron is a homosexual, and that was supposed to be, at the time of the writing of the book, that was supposed to be enough to make him a bit of a sicko, a pedophile / homosexual. But that's the reason that the Dune 1984 movies, they make them even weirder. They make them, all kinds of, the plugs and all that stuff. Do you remember, Cam? That was all like, what the heck is that? Like, they're trying to make them even more perverse and more weird, I think.
They were pretty. I mean, even in the books. I mean, because Duncan, remember, was a slave or whatever on Harkonnen slave, and so there's a lot of there's abundant evidence that they the Harkonnens are just repulsive. Yeah,
even PB makes a good point. But even in the first book, these are not mentioned that much, right? We don't know much about. We know about the guild a little bit. We don't hear any. The Ixians aren't mentioned. The Tlaxu are not mentioned until Dune Messiah. They're not in the first book, to my recollection. I don't remember seeing anything about it. It's there's a lot. If you just reading the first book, there's a lot that's missing from the entire universe. We know a little bit about the Skate Basing Guild and stuff, but there's lots of stuff we don't get. We don't, we get Chom sort of mentioned sideways and stuff. Lynch took the weirdness to the extremes a little bit. He did in that. You notice that in the, I'm not supposed to talk about the movies yet, but you notice in the new movies, that's kind of, the Baron is kind of, he's just in his vat of oil all the time. His perversions are not really, we see Fade, killing people and telling his weird bald women who are hanging around him to eat people. But Fade has girls that are cannibals. He's a monster in the movies, but the Baron isn't really much better. But we don't really see that in the new movies. But anyway.
A special alert here. Apparently the Ixians were mentioned briefly, but the Bene Tlaxu were not.
Very, very briefly in the first book.
Yes.
Well, the Ixians and House Atreides have a bit of a
history, as we find
a bit of history, right? Leto was first married to an Ixian princess, I believe.
Was that ever was that just in House Atreides?
That's in the new stuff. So we can talk about that when we get to
it.
Okay. So Dune. I mean, I'm kind of going over these because there's a new movie coming out. Part 3 is coming out in December, so that Part 3 is going to focus on Dune Messiah. It ends with
do it. I will challenge you. Do it in 3 sentences for each book.
3 sentences? Oh, I can't do that. How does Dune end, Cam?
Well, Dune ends with Paul becoming the emperor.
Mm-hmm. And he also says that he will marry the princess, but he will never have a child by her.
Right. Yes. Well, it's actually he's not just the emperor. He also takes over Chom completely and basically subjugates everyone.
I think he takes all the emperor's shares
in Chom. Yeah,
which I believe he has the highest number of shares in Chom.
Yeah.
But Chani is Kind's daughter, and Stilgar was never a fundamentalist. Well, all the Fremen are kind of fundamentalists. They're all pretty religious.
What's their religion?
You're right. They are a kind of a mix of Zen
Sunni.
Zen Sunni, Zen and Sunnis. Kind of a Middle Eastern Muslim mix.
Well, okay, which is impossible. Those are 2 entirely incompatible systems. But there's a whole thing if you read I'm sorry if I'm going off on a tangent here, but there's a whole thing about the religious development. How the Orange Catholic Bible is a thing in here. Which is like, and I don't remember exactly where they went to it, but basically it was some effort to unify all of these things into one, which is part of the the Empire Society. I think it's universal. But people like the Fremen are outside of that. They are.
Yeah. Well, they're tribal living on this planet. I mean, they think there's only like maybe 50 or 60,000 of them. They think that no Fremens are in the southern half of the planet. It's just too harsh. But the Fremen are over, and there's millions of them. They've been hiding for forever.
Generations.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to summarize each book then with 3 sentences. I might not be able to do it. Okay. Dune Messiah takes place 12 years after Dune. It's the story of Paul. His jihad has, it's gone out of control a little bit. He is feeling some guilt about it. Chani can't have children. She's having trouble, but by the end of the book, she has children. There is a conspiracy between the Guild, the Bene Gesserit, and the Bene Tlaxu, and Princess Aurelian is in on it as well to take Paul out. They present him with the Gola of Duncan, Idaho, which is a clone that doesn't have its memories of its original life. And in the end of the book, Paul, there's an attack. A stone burner, which is an atomic, kills a bunch of Paul's. Paul is going to, there's also a conspiracy among some Fremen to get rid of Paul as well.
Well, one of the Fremen guys is part of the main conspiracy.
Which one?
I forget his name.
Korba?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think he's part of the.
I'm pretty sure he is, but let me check.
I just reread this. He's not in like some of the talk. You know, when the guild and everybody get together and they talk about the conspiracy. He's not in it off as much, but maybe you're right. Anyway, so I think there's a separate conspiracy because some of the Fremen are like they've been corrupted. They're living in. They're rich. They're living in the cities now. They're not like they used to be. So there's this religion's getting out of control a little bit. Anyway, so Paul is blinded by the stone burner, and of course, if you're blind in the Fremen, you're useless. So a true Fremen goes off in the desert and lets themselves die if they're blind. So Chiani is she's pregnant. She has 2 children, the twins, and she dies in childbirth. And Paul goes off into the desert to die. That's basically Dune Messiah. Children of Dune takes place 9 years. Oh, wait, you want to? Okay. Right.
Do we not want to talk about that now?
Okay, go ahead. Let's talk. We'll go through, summarize, and then we can talk about it. Sure.
Oh, I was just going to say briefly. I think some people have. I actually love Dune Messiah. I think it's a great book.
I enjoy it too. Yeah.
But I think some people thought it was out of character for the rest of the series. Because it is kind of like this plot, it's dealing a lot. It's political plot, it's kind of a lot of external things to Arrakis, kind of the remnants of the old empire, and dealing with that. But I find that to be extremely interesting myself.
I just reread a bunch of it. I don't find it's mostly takes place on Dune. There's lots of talk about external things going on, but the focus of it is on Paul and on Dune. I didn't really feel it that way about it, but yeah.
What I mean, okay, compared to
go ahead. Maybe I misinterpreted.
Compared to God, where we end up with God Emperor, it is very much still all these organizations have. Even though Paul is dominating everything, they're all still kind of intact, and I guess they do remain intact but
it's God Emperor that wipes them out, right? Like he takes
right.
Because
yeah. So
that's a good point.
And I like Paul's reflection on these things. Like at the very beginning, he's got this ridiculous palace. That they describe like the throne room or whatever. It's like monumentally sized. It's like unbelievable, and he's kind of talking. So what happened is, this happened at the very end of Dune, I think, or in the movie they showed him like literally going on ships and everything to start invading things. I don't think it happened that way at the end of the book. But in the story, it did. Basically, the Fremen, went off world and he used them to conquer, planet after planet, killing, billions of people. And he's reflecting. He's like, yeah, I'm like the worst, the worst dictator the universe has ever seen, It's like you can't hold a candle to me, He
has a discussion with Stilgar about that.
Mm-hmm.
I just actually finished reading that part today.
Yeah, he's not bragging either. It's like he's cognizant of this,
of what's going on. Yeah, but remember the whole idea of with his sight into the future and everything, he sees how bad it could be without him. So he knows that if he were to die too soon, then the jihad would just completely be out of control. It'd be even worse. Remember, he's not going out and attacking planets randomly. He's going against members of the Landsraad who don't accept his rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that at that point in the story where he's talking about that, it's I wrote it down just because I always forget this. 61 billion killed, 90 planets basically raised, completely scoured of life or whatever, and then 500 other planets that have been in various states of destruction. So that's what he says at that point.
I forget. Did they use nuclear weapons on these other planets?
They don't say they did, but if how would you depopulate a planet? The easiest way to do it would be to nuke it. The houses in Dune, they all have lots of nukes. The only thing that that scares
but
them.
they can't. They can't use them though against anyone else because Paul now controls the guild essentially. Meaning, I mean, he doesn't technically, but it's like I'll just cut you off so that he can completely stop any space travel.
Yeah, no, the reason that people that the houses don't use it against each other is because they would be, all the other houses would get together and
that was the old system. That was mutually assured destruction kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
One house won't dare use them because then they would be, everyone would come on them and take care of them, but kill them.
Right.
But of course, those rules don't follow anymore because Paul has all the power.
Right.
By threatening to blow up the spice. That's how he gets the guild. He says, "Hey, I'm going to blow up all the spice."
Right.
He'll basically talk about. I think it's using a nuke in certain parts of the planet and then causing a cascading failure, killing all the worms. No worms, no spice. All right. Let me just let's go with some of the points in the chat. PB Stilgar was not a Fremen, or was not a fundamentalist. Fremen aren't fundamentalists. There's some, but majority amongst the Fremen. Dennis changed that for the film. Yeah. Well, they're very religious. They're still religious. They believe they're somewhat superstitious as well. But this whole thing in the film, some of those are fundamentalists Fremen. We're not fundamental. No, there's no real split in the Fremen.
Yeah.
And Cam was talking about religion. At one point, Paul talks about in Dune Messiah about destroying 40 other religions and replacing them. But I don't know if they get all their other religions, but they do mention that they took care of 40 of them. Part of the thing about Dune Messiah is that they replace all their government is being replaced by, it's like a religious government. So there is no separation between religion and government. So everything that is done by, quote, priests or some sort of religious figure. There's no civil service. The civil service is also the religious service. So he's kind of puts them all together. It's pretty hard to, if you were to pull religion out of there, it wouldn't, the government wouldn't exist anymore. Okay. Stilgar wasn't sold on Paul until after he started the jihad, but I'm a novel purist. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Cam. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that, and a lot of the theme running throughout this, especially, that we see through Paul's inner monologue and everything is, the whole idea of the, prescience trapping you. We're starting to see that come into play more. And, so it's basically, he's got this tiger by the tail, and he doesn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah, he's trying to navigate the way that causes the least amount of destruction. But there's things that he cannot see, right? Where the guilds, that's the way that the conspiracy is able to flourish, is that wherever the guild steersman is, Eldrick, Paul can't see that. Of course, he can see this. He's like, oh, there's it's like a big black pool here that I can't see. So something's going on. But they each of them can't see the other. So so there is some, there's some. So he's trying to walk the path. You're right, but he also knows that there are places in the path that are, that are, quote, muddy waters. They use a lot. They can't see. So yeah. Okay. PB Princess Aurelia, her aunt, the Bene Gesserit, Ixines, Tlaxu, and others send assassins to kill Paul for a long time. Yeah. 90 planets left lifeless, but worst came when Paul strangled spice production. Okay. The Fremen were based on Muslims. This is the interesting. I first read this book. I was a teenager, and there were. It was quite interesting. It's kind of my first. My first introduction to Islam in this book. So it was very interesting to get getting. I mean, you're not really getting pieces of it though, and he's mixing a bunch of these things together and stuff. So yeah, it was quite interesting for me as a teenager, reading and learning about this stuff. Jessica taught Paul the weirding way, the Bene Gesserit fighting style. Paul taught the Fremen and became unstoppable. Never mentioned in the films by Dennis. Yeah, that isn't a big thing. I mean, the Fremen were still good fighters. They're mentioned in Dune. They there's a I think it was with Late Kinds. It's mentioned that there was a squad of Fremen and a squad of Harkonnens. They fight, and I think it was, basically 10 Harkonnens and 10 Fremen, and the Fremen, all the Harkonnens are killed, and the Fremen suffered, 2 dead and some number, like 1 or 2 wounded. So they are still better fighters than the Harkonnens, at least.
Well, no, we find out that they're superior to the Sardaukar.
Yeah, they are the superior to the Sardaukar as well.
Yeah, and for people that don't remember, that's how the Emperor basically kept people in line: was you don't do it. The Sardaukar come in and kill you. So it was, and there's an interesting parallel between how the Sardaukar were created and how
the Fremen
are created.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you want to talk about that?
Well, it's so the Sardaukar planet was once the Imperial planet. We find out, I think, later, but it's basically this hellscape, like a. I think it was nuked or something in the history. It's almost uninhabitable, right? And so they're basically they're raised on this planet, and it's like kind of like a Spartan
prison planet,
right?
Prison planet.
And it's a Spartan kind of thing where, it's that they're raised to survive, and basically only the strongest survive, and then they become the Sardaukar, and they're also fanatically loyal to the Emperor, so on and so forth. And the parallel with the Fremen is basically Arrakis is what makes them strong. Just again, the fact that they survive and thrive. There's a whole theme about the advancement of humanity, in their physical and mental prowess. That's because, again, the lack of computers and everything, it's in many different ways, but the Fremen are very much a physical manifestation of that, as are the Bene Gesserit. There's a whole bunch of that, these parallel things, and then the fish speakers, which we'll talk about later. And beyond that.
So, so actually, I just sort of read this passage in Dune. It's near the end. It's the second half, about maybe the last quarter of the book of in Dune, and it's there's a scene when Count Fenring comes to talk to, and this is why I pissed at the movies, because Count Fenring is in Dune, and he's he's one of my favorite characters.
Well, his wife is in the movies.
I know, but he's not.
Yeah, right.
I like him better. He's got too, though. Yeah. He's a failed Kwisatz Haderach, right?
Yeah.
He is, yeah. So anyway, he's a freak, but he's an interesting character. Anyway, there's a scene at the end, like I said, in the last half of Dune, where he comes in and he comes to talk to the Baron, give him some orders from the Emperor or whatever. And the Baron sort of half remarks, he goes, you know what, maybe I should just turn Dune into, once we kill all these Fremen, turn it into a prison planet. And and then Fenring just like, what? Like, he goes from 0 to 100 and goes, you better not do anything like that, blah blah blah. And Harkonnen's like, what? Why was he be so pissed about that? Why would the Emperor be so upset if I turned Dune into a prison planet? And of course, Cam mentioned it earlier. It's the secret to his the strength of the Sardaukar. So he would be very concerned if anyone did that. And that gives Harkonnen the really the idea that, oh, hey, maybe that's the secret. So okay. House Corino moved to Kaitane, but kept Salus Secundus as a prison planet and training ground. Yep. Salus Secundus was the original home of the House Corino. Yep. That's correct. All right. Okay. Anything else about Cam, about Dune Messiah?
No, and just that, like the miniseries, which we're not talking about, it basically just erased it. It kind of just glossed over it somewhat quick. I mean, it was in the Children of Dune. They combined it with Children of Dune, just called it Children of Dune. So I think it's probably seen as the least important book, is my guess. But I really think it's well worth reading.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's important too. I think it's and especially when you go to God Emperor and the Golden Path and the back and forth. I mean, I say that my theory is that Paul's a coward. He doesn't have the he can see, I think, the Golden Path, but he lacks the will to take it, right? So my theory is that he needs his son to do it. Paul is too old by the time Leto takes the golden path. I think he's 9 or something like that. He's about 9 or 10. But Paul can't take that. He's got too many ties to. He's got his mother. He's got his wife. He's got human. That sort of emotions and stuff. But Leto can make that decision because, well, maybe he's got stronger will, but also he doesn't have he's got very much less of those things to tie him down. That would kind of be my theory.
Okay. Side note: we had a start of this discussion at one point months ago when we were talking about Dune, and this is a point of debate that I think could take up a whole. We talked about doing a debate on this exact topic. My position being that the golden path is the product of a psychopath. But that's neither here nor there. But I just wanted to mention that because you just said Paul's a coward. I say Paul's a hero. In respect to this, granted that Paul is not, Frank Herbert was pretty clear on this. Was not meant to be seen as a hero in that respect. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. We go Children of Dune. Paul's not a coward. He can't see as far as his son, so he gets disillusioned and walks away in disgust.
Well, I think that
could be that too.
I think Paul sees. He's horrified by what he sees, and it's like as a human, meaning someone that has human sensibilities, is rightfully, appalled by it.
Yes, and Leto lacks that compassion, and part of that reason because he hasn't lived as long. He lacks the compassion in order to and so he's able to take the goal.
Kind of like a psychopath
that Paul can't take.
You just described a psychopath.
If you want to say he's a psychopath for doing it, but I mean, we've kind of established that it's necessary, that this is necessary for humanity to survive. So
yes,
is that a psychopath? Maybe.
Well, okay, we're getting into this all at the word of the psychopath. No external proof of this. None.
Of course not. Because no one can understand he's too.
But the chat thinks you're an idiot, though. I just want to make that clear. They think.
Oh, okay. That's not what I'm reading. All right. Anyway. Okay. So, Children of Dune takes place 8 years after Dune Messiah. Paul has had twins, a male and a female. The Emperor and various others have been trying to murder them. And also, this Messiah has come back from this prophet has come back from the desert, which they think might be Paul. And Alia has been ruling in his stead. Alia has been becoming crazier and crazier, doing crazy stuff, and she has been taken over by the Baron. Basically, one of the problems that the Bene Gesserit have with all these, all these other personalities inside them. Sometimes they come up and sometimes they can't control them, and she becomes taken over by the Baron and starts acting the way he would act.
Reminding everyone that the Bene Gesserit said she was an abomination from the get-go.
True, yes.
Right? And it's not normal that they have their memories and such of the males, right? It was prior to Alia and Paul, it was just they had the female memories, correct?
Yeah, well, I don't think Alia has any of the male memories, actually, but somehow the Baron comes up and and he starts talking to her and she starts talking back to him and he's telling her to do stuff. He kind of pushes the other one down. So, I don't think she really has she's just goes crazy in a sense, but, I could be wrong. Someone else might have it.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up.
Okay. Paul and Johnny had 3 children.
It says she does.
The first died. So, and here's another. Yes. Paul have Leto. They have a son, and he is killed at the end of Dune when he is attacking the Emperor, and at the same time, the Emperor does a raid on the Siege where Leto is, and he's killed. So this always bugged me. They call Paul and Johnny's first child. They call him Leto 2, and then he dies, and like he's like 3, 4, something like that. And then they call in Children of Dune, Leto. They call Leto 2 again. I'm like, why don't they call him Leto 3? But anyway, that's not really that important. Leto says that humanity couldn't survive if they didn't grow. So how is that a psychopath? Oh, good point. They couldn't survive if he didn't put them on the golden path.
The argument that we could do a show on is that yes, that's clear. That's what he's saying. And my point is, devil's advocate. Where's the external proof of that? You're taking the word of the psychopath that the psychopath's claim is true.
Yeah, but it's pretty hard. Like, are you?
It's clearly the premise of the book. I mean, there's no doubt about that. That's what I am not arguing that the author wasn't saying, yes, this is it. You're
arguing with God. You're like saying to God and saying, hey, show me the proof. And God's like, listen, forget it. You can't understand it.
Yeah. If it was God, then I would agree with you. He's not God. He's
emperor of Dune.
No, he's a creature. He is a creature, a created creature. He is not God.
Okay, so did Alia know that the Baron was her grandfather before she took control? Yes, she did. She knew right away.
She said that when she killed him. She called him grandfather.
Well, she knows when she's a fetus because she gets all of her mother's memories and a bunch of memories from other Reverend mothers. She knows right away that Jessica's related and everything. So
I looked it up and it said she did have her male ancestors' memories.
She did have her male ancestors. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's unusual.
Because she was an abomination. That's never supposed to have happened. So
okay,
Jessica was really a screw up.
If she just didn't, the Bene Gesserit hate her.
If she just didn't love Leto
so much, yeah. Well, they call her Jessica's. What is it called? Jessica's mistake or Jessica's whatever. Her having a male child.
Yeah. Did you mention that the Kwisatz Haderach was supposed to be the child of the girl that Paul was supposed to be, and Fade, right? And
Fade, yes. No, I didn't mention that, but yeah. So he is. So I mean, that also goes to the whole. He's the Kwisatz Haderach, but is he? He's a generation early, but they don't know exactly when he's supposed to be there. But then you can say, maybe the true Kwisatz Haderach is Leto, the god who becomes the god emperor, right? Maybe, I always thought that it was kind of interesting. Frank Herbert's argument was that humanity has a need to be led, and charismatic leaders exploit that more than others by using religion.
Yeah, I'm not doubting the author's position.
There's this back and forth that people say, "Oh, Paul's the hero," and then Frank Herbert was pissed off because he's not a hero. He's a blah blah blah. I mean,
Dune Messiah makes that pretty clear, though.
Yeah, he's a hero, and that everyone read Herbert's book and they said, "Oh, wow, that Paul's such a great guy," and he's like, "No, he's not." Blah blah blah. I never thought. Paul is the hero at the beginning of in Dune for sure, right? Because he's got all the
he's the protagonist.
All these bad guys, all these bad guys are after him. He saves his family and frees Dune from the evil Harkonnens.
This has come up a lot recently, and it's like it's hard to say. If an author tells you my book is this, right? It's hard for me to say I didn't write the book, right? To say no, your book isn't this. However, the author produces the work. The work actually stands on its own. So an author can say, "Oh, I intended for this to be this." It's like, okay, you didn't portray that. I'm saying. Go ahead.
Who's the comic book guy? Alan? Is it Alan? He did the Watchmen and stuff.
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore. Yeah, he's always like, "No, that's not what I wrote." Like, no, it's pretty much.
Like, it is what you wrote.
It is what you wrote.
Well,
no, I meant this. Well, you didn't do a very good job.
This is not uncommon for people that are in their own bubble and they don't understand other perspectives. And it's just like, I'm up my own ass, and they think, well, look, I'm portraying X, Y, or Z, but they don't understand X, Y, or Z, and so they, So the bottom line is,
I prefer works that can be interpreted in multiple ways. Right?
Sure,
like life isn't black and white.
Right. And so while I respect an author who says this was my intention, I can't call him a liar. I guess I could,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, I have no way to prove that they're a liar. But on the other hand, I have to say, well, then you failed at this, at least from my perspective, because you didn't portray these things, or
Well,
you didn't.
I say
do it
that.
sufficiently.
Yeah, I say they're successful if it can be seen in different ways, right? Okay. Just a question, Outpost Nerd. I heard someone say it was supposed to be Alia. Well, Ali was supposed to be the Quizark Haderach. I'm not. There goes Cam. He's typing away something. Is that what you mean? Ali was supposed to be the Quizark Haderach. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's what you mean. Cam, just because you disagree doesn't make Herbert wrong. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I would like to point out to our dear listeners, this kind of discussion is why we have this show. We do debate things and have our own hot takes and devil's advocate and things like that. So that's what we do here.
And if you want to be right, you just have to agree with me. All right, let's go on. You say, you are saying he's wrong, short of saying flat out he was wrong. Is that talking about Herbert again?
Wrong about what?
Yeah, about Herbert. Yeah, I mean, people can write stuff, and I can interpret it the way I want to. If they don't, yeah. Okay, we good on Children of Dune? I mean, we can go back to them if the chat wants to bring something up. I still want to try to get through all these.
Yep.
Okay, so God Emperor of Dune takes place about 4,500 years after Children of Dune. So Leto has been the worm for this long. Dune is almost a garden paradise. It's got these small little bits of sand here and there. Leto has basically taken over the known universe. He has crushed anybody who is in his way. Basically, the only, I guess the Bene Gesserit are the only thing that survive, and the guild survive as well. The Landsrat has ceased to exist. He has his legion of fish speakers, which are basically an all-female army who worship him like a god, and are married to him. He's been breeding the Atreides forever. And he's actually gotten into a place where he cannot. He has finally bred an Atreides who cannot be seen by him. So yeah, the book ends up with him finally being killed, and that begins the scattering. Do you want to add anything to that, Cam? That's pretty short.
Well, just some context is the level in which he dominates things is he's destroyed their society to the point they describe this where it's like most planets, they don't even, I mean, they have like villages. That's the level of regression that he has pushed them into technologically.
Okay, not population wise, but
no, I'm not saying that there isn't a large population. I'm saying they don't, there aren't even towns, it's like, or there's very few, kinds of things that have.
There's you can't travel from planet to planet, no matter how rich you are, and nobody's rich. He's completely like he basically
the guild is gone,
spice to nothing. No, is the guild gone? I thought the guild exists.
Let me double check.
Yeah, I think they exist, but they're just like he gives out so little spice each year, and sometimes he's just on a whim. He's like, yeah, whatever, you get none.
Well, also, you didn't mention. I mean, you mentioned that the Dune is transformed into a lush planet, but the worms can't survive in that. So they have these tiny desert areas where they do have some worms left. I think, or they're largely gone though.
Yes,
and
he's hoarding spice.
Right, like, he has this stockpile.
Yeah, which is really, really big. We find out when he dies.
Yeah, we find out later, right?
When they find it, yeah.
Because he poops it out. No, he.
I don't know if he
so, did you mention that he is a worm now, or a hybrid worm?
Well, he's been becoming more and more worm-like over the years, right? Like he starts out with, I didn't mention that, but yes, he becomes more worm-like as he gets older. Okay, so everyone's dunking on you, Cam. Oh, and you're furiously typing. I can
yes,
hear.
I'm going to do that.
You're sounding that. I guess we should address this. Herbert didn't portray what he said his work was, unless I'm not understanding you. Is that? It's possible for an author to claim stories about X while failing to actually portray it. Yeah, I agree. That's possible.
But specifically, what we were talking about is the Golden Path, which again, I fully admit that I'm taking a devil's advocate position here. And again, it's been a while since I've read all this, but I don't think that the Golden Path theory, which was put into play, is externally verified to be true. That's it. If someone wants to provide evidence that exists in the books, and Frank Herbert has done that, other than okay, that's the premise he starts with, right? He's telling the audience this, the reader. He's saying, "This is it. This is the Golden Path. This is the character the protagonist you're following. This is what he says," and we kind of just accept it at that point. I'm saying that's my point. Is we're accepting that. We're accepting the premise on the word of the person claiming it in the story. There is no external verification of it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I just don't. I agree that he says this is a golden path. I'm the only one who can see it. The rest of you guys aren't smart enough. You don't have my abilities. You can't see it anyway.
Sounds like every cult leader that has ever existed.
Is he right or is he wrong? Maybe not, right?
Oh, I have to have all the young ladies be my harem because that's the way it is, right? I mean, it's the same kind of thing.
Sure, it's the same kind of thing, but that doesn't mean it could be true, though, right?
It could be right. It could.
It doesn't
absolutely
necessarily mean it's not true. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yes, I'm saying that. Yes, I'm saying it's not a verified. That I already said it's not verified by any external means.
Yeah, and I'm saying that it can't be verified. It's not possible.
Maybe. Why would we not? Because okay, did I not make it clear that I'm making a devil's advocate argument?
Why would we not accept that story premise? You don't. I mean, you don't.
You can. You're free. You're free to. You're free to.
I accept it. That's the whole what the story's about. Okay, so okay,
but I will point out that if I said, "Hey, I accept that premise," okay, we're done discussing it.
Well, you can discuss other aspects of it. That's the point. It's not a hero story. It's Herbert's social commentary story. I would agree.
Yes,
I'm not the hero.
Okay, that you're in that case. I think wouldn't that be you accepting Frank Herbert's social commentary? I'm looking at it from within the story. I'm not denying that Frank Herbert is having various kinds of commentary, and that's his position, or that he doesn't have the right to that. I absolutely do.
Okay, so let's go on. Let's talk about Heretics and Chapter House Dune, and let's put them together because they're basically one story. They just go, from one to the other. It's not really a big separation. It's basically the same, one story that's just cut into 2 books.
You're saying from God Emperor?
Yeah, after God Emperor. Okay. Unless there's more about God Emperor.
You probably should mention that he dies at the end of it.
I mentioned
the God Emperor. Oh, did you? Okay, and he
dies.
Okay, he turns back into the sand trout. Right,
yes, and runs off into the sand.
PB, I can't convince you any more than I already have that I was making a devil's advocate. Yes, I'm making it just to make it. Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay, so Heretics of Dune, Chapter House Dune start 1,500 years after God Emperor of Dune, and what's been going on in that time is the scattering. So basically, we find out that the Golden Path is this.
Okay, I'm sorry. The scattering was already happening, wasn't it?
No.
During Leto's thing.
No,
I'm sure. Okay, go ahead.
Because he controls all. Nobody can go anywhere, right? So he builds up this 4,500 years of this, orgasmic energy that people just want to go out, and that's what he's been doing. This, I mean, basically, for when we get to Heretic, we find out for sure what the golden path is that Leto has been suppressing our human drives to go out, into the universe and explore and just get away from. And he's been so such this lack of freedom and everything that people just explode and go off everywhere they want.
Yeah,
you got to get away from this.
You're right.
Yeah. So, and in as well as he's been doing that, is he has he's forced he's bred the Atreides. So now that Sinona, who is at the who's basically the one who causes his death, is part of the conspiracy and is
that he orchestrated.
Yeah, he cannot see her. She's invisible to prescience. And that's another thing that he's been trying to do in the last 4,500 years, so that no one can ever find humans. Humans can scatter into the universe at large, and no one will ever be able to track them all down and find them and exterminate them. So this is basically what he's done. He's forced them all into this little ball. The ball explodes, and then they can't be seen. In addition to this, they've developed no ships, which are ships that can't be tracked by prescience as well, and you can live in them, and people can't use that vision,
right, and
vision to find you and stuff like that. So,
and they don't use navigators. They navigate by the Ixian computers essentially.
I think you can still use navigators, but we're not forced to do so by the guild, because the Ixians have developed machines, and in this time too, I believe the Bene Telex have developed, or maybe it's after this, they develop like basically fake spice. They're able to manufacture spice, or is that the end of? Maybe that's at the end of Chapter House.
I forget when that was exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, the God Emperor dies. There's this huge explosion of people escaping from his rule. It basically all comes crumbling down, and it's been 1,500 years since then. And the only thing that sorry,
why are they escaping a threat that no longer exists?
Because they've been they've been cooped up for so long, and who knows if the threat might further exist. Plus, I mean, the fish speakers are still around. I mean, there's all the God Emperor dies, they can start to escape, but that doesn't mean there's still there's all kinds of conflict. There's probably hundreds of years of conflict going back and forth, people killing people and stuff, people declaring themselves the new God Emperor, etc., etc. No ships they don't need spice, but I mean, you don't need spice it's the Holtzman engines that power the ships. The spice is only used by the guild in order to find a safe path, and you don't run into a sun or a planet or something like that. So Leto repopulates the sandworms. Yes, he kind of brings them back by doing. I mean, they're still there, but they're all stunted and small. Space folding was impossible a long time ago. It takes special mental ability to see the roots. Yes, that's exactly it. So you don't end up at a star. The spice opens up that mental ability. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Better than I put it, BB. Yeah. So, excuse me. So Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune focuses on the people coming back from the scattering. So, it starts off with, all the basically, the known universe is still there. They're there. But now there's this crush of people coming back, and there's this invasions. There's these, and that's where we have the honored matres coming back, who are basically, what would you call them? Benny, dime store Benny Gesserits.
Mm-hmm.
Would you? I mean, except that they have they've developed their
way higher physical abilities.
Yeah, reflexes, and they sexually subjugate all the men that they have. They're very good at that. So they're basically they're like a Reverend Mother with no spice, and they've become very high physical prowess. Their reflexes are lightning fast, way faster than anything we've seen. But
this is something we alluded to earlier too, that all throughout the God Emperor's reign is humanity continued to evolve physically, at least. because there's one scene where the God Emperor's Chamberlain or whatever just beats the crap out of Duncan, who was an older model. He was like not updated. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's because the God Emperor takes over the Bene Gesserit breeding program, and he breeds the Atreides, and he makes Siona unable to be seen, and of course Monad is his major domo, I guess you would call him, and he's always had, and they're all Atreides, like they've all been various bits of Atreides, parts of Atreides. So yeah, So that goes. So that these two books, like I said, they're basically one story put together. We've got and it's fun, the guild. Sorry, the Bene Gesserit are the only things to really survive the entire saga. Right, the only group that kind of is able to do that. The honored Matris come back. They're this sort of weird version of fish. They think it's fish speakers and Bene Gesserit together. Well, they don't have any spice.
They confirm
they don't
that,
have the
right?
racial memory. They say that. They say that. Well, that there's some sort of mix of fish speakers, and that's what they say. I don't know if they confirm it. That's what they think, but I'm not sure.
And they. I'm sorry. This is happening in the 5th book.
5th and 6th book. They're kind of I kind of lump them together because they basically
5 and 6 are in the same time period.
Yeah, there's no time between 5 and 6. I think it's basically a long story that they cut into 2 books because there's no time. Now every other book has a time, space between them, and these 2 don't.
Right. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. Go ahead with your.
No, that's fine. So the the honored Matris have come back. And it slowly comes out like, okay, well, what are they fleeing from? Why are they coming back now? Why are they coming to take over our space?
Excellent question.
And then there's a whole bunch. There's the whole they're being attacked. There's what has gone on in the scattering. None of the known universe, the Dune, the Dune universe that we've known before this, knows what's out there. And it's coming back, they don't seem to care. They don't follow any of the rules. They'll nuke a planet, no problem.
They nuke a lot of planets, right? I mean,
yeah, they nuke a lot of planets.
Almost as if the Golden Path isn't working out, huh?
Well, it is working out because they're running away, but there's all kinds of other humans. God knows where they are.
Are they? How do you know? How do you know they exist at all?
We don't know, but that was Leto's plan. There's a couple other things going on here. Basically, Chapter House Dune. There's a Chapter House planet is the planet of the Bene Gesserit. They ended in that book. They end up turning it into another Dune with the sandworms, which is kind of weird because they do have I think the Ixians have fake spice by now.
The Talaxu.
It's not the universe. It's just our galaxy. I don't know that is true, PB. They talk about him being the emperor of the known universe. I suspect it is probably our galaxy, but we don't know that for certain. And the no ship, or sorry, the Guild Highliners, their transportation is basically instantaneous. So it could be anywhere else in the universe, and we wouldn't really know that. I mean, I think probably you're right, but I don't know that.
Well, I'm just searching some of the stuff. They
claim clearly had a thing for dominatrix by the last 3 books.
Yes.
Well, the last 2 anyway.
PB, how do you know it's still part of the Golden Path?
That's still part of the Golden Path.
It says that it was a multi-galactic regime. So apparently outside of the I'm just searching this. I don't remember it from the book myself.
Yeah, it doesn't say specifically. Like, it says like the Emperor at the beginning of Dune is called the Emperor of the known universe. I think that it's kind of not necessarily material because you can travel between any 2 points instantaneously. Like, who knows if it's like the whole geography of the area. It doesn't really matter if it's close or far. Like it's the same distance to go. So it's kind of a funny thing. So what else? Oh, there's is this where we get more golas? No, that's later on. That's later on. There's some great. So there's some interesting things going on. We've got the Bashir Miles Teague, the old Bashir. He's like 200 years old. He's fighting these new.
Also in Atreides.
Yes, also everybody's in Atreides. He's fighting the he's fighting the Honored Matris in their thing. He's able to somehow he's able to tap into their ability to move fast, and at the end of his life, he uses that to defend against the only period with galaxy-wide emperor ruled over by House Carino. Where'd you get that from?
Well, okay, so I'm looking up to see where
I don't remember Herbert ever he called Emperor of the Known Universe, but they don't actually say if it's
okay. According to this, Leto the God Emperor mentions that it's multigalactic.
I'm gonna look that up myself.
But you're right; it really doesn't matter, I guess, in terms of
Anything else about Heretics and Chapter House Dune? Do you want to mention the very last page of Chapter House Dune?
I'll let you mention that in a moment. Again, what is being portrayed here is a reversal. We're seeing, we saw the God Emperor push things to a certain point in which, and then the scattering happened, which was. The scattering was I
would say he suppresses them. Suppresses
them until the scatter. The whole point was to create this pressure cooker, right? That's the theory.
Yes.
Because he was trying to create, the conditions that would lead to the golden path. The golden path is. Did you describe what it is in theory? It's this thing. It's saying it's the one way that things will perpetuate. Yes. Forever.
He wants humanity to survive, and the only way for this is the golden path. The only way for humanity to survive is basically puts them in this pressure cooker so that they will explode and scatter throughout the universe, and therefore also be unseen, or be unable to be ever found, and that will ensure that humanity will survive no matter what, because no one will be able to find them all and wipe us all out, is the theory, right? So in order to force everybody to run away and scatter anywhere, he basically puts them under 4,500 years of totalitarian, harsh, horrible government, and breeds them. He also breeds them too.
Well, okay. The scattering happens right when he dies, so and that's when it begins to happen. Okay. Yes. Now, but the Atreides descendants are come from Siona, right? I mean, she's the one that was bred to produce that. Okay. So what are the odds that all of these scattering, they go all over the place, right? And it starts to happen right then. Well, she has no descendants at that point, right?
No.
Okay, so the bulk
doesn't she get with Duncan?
I'm sure. I think so. But
he's the big ladies' man.
Yeah, but the point is, I forget. I think that is the case. But the point is, if that's a key element of this, again, the golden path isn't, well, yeah, these things might work out. It's no, the whole point is that it's narrow. It is the only path forward to do this. So
that he can see to ensure humanity's survival. Yes.
Well, that's the premise, is that he is seeing what is correct. Okay. So many questions start to come up because it's this, what you said, again, this element of not being able to be seen through prescience is a key element to it. If that is a key element to it, then anything that does not include that key element cannot be fulfilling that golden path. Is that a logical truism or not?
No, because
that is logically true.
The thing is look, I mean, it's like, I don't know, cockroaches in your house, right? You got to wipe out all of them. And if there's even even if one is, invisible or can't be seen, right, then you can't get all of them. So that's what he is looking to do, right, is to make it so that and remember, Leto doesn't decide, finally, Siona's here, I can't see what she does, now it's my time to die, and he rolls over and dies, right?
Well, no, but that's built on well, if he's seeing all this, of course he would know that.
No, but he can't see that because he can't see her, right? And he just he's
so
going.
If he can't see her,
he doesn't know when his death is coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's simply pushing, he's pushing the path, and he's like, I got to stay as long as I can. I got to stay alive, and I got to push this path. And every year or whatever goes by, it gets closer and closer, and more and more a chance for it to be successful because I've increased the pressure. I've used the Bene Gesserit breeding plan to breed humans that are better. They're more likely to survive. Like, all these points are going in there.
So he's basing all of this on the things he can see in the future, and then acknowledging that he can't see these things in the future. So his own path is putting in elements that he cannot then determine the result of those elements.
He sees the, it's like he sees the one, he sees the one successful path through the forest, right? This is the path I've got to follow because over here it's all undergrowth and whatever, right? So I got to follow this path. So he's going down the path as long as he can. He can't know for certain, like he can't see any other way, and he can't, necessarily see, the end of the path or how he's going to end, because there are elements that he can't see. Just like in Dune Messiah, Paul can't see everything because he sees, generally speaking, what might happen if this happens, what might happen if that happens. He can follow a path, but there are muddy waters in certain areas because he can't see everyone, because he can't see the guild steersman, that kind of thing, right?
So is he following a definitive plan that he sees will result in something, or is he just playing the odds?
I think he's playing the odds, and he's like, this is the path this is the only path I can see to this solution. I don't know exactly if it'll get there. I think it's the best plan. It's the only plan. I'm going to follow that plan. Even the unseen elements are part of the golden path because he sees the final end. I mean, I think he sees that when he dies, there'll be this explosion of people out. Now, does he want him when does he want this, when he dies, when does he want that death to happen? Does he want it to happen year 1 or year 4,500? Obviously, if it happens, the longer he's able to carry out his plans, he makes it more successful, right? Or a chance that is more successful. He can see that, this is where I want to get to. I want it to be successful. I need to last as long as I can. He doesn't know when it's going to end, though, right? He doesn't know the date of his death. He doesn't know. And once he's able to breed the Atreides that can't be seen by him, makes things worse, right? More chaotic and stuff like that. Leto sees the final end. He's not playing the odds. That's your interpretation, Cam. I think he sees the general end, but not the specifics of it. That's my
someone point out to me where the novels verify the Golden Path's endpoint being successful.
That they have been successful, or
that it is successful. This is a theory that is presented by one entity, Leto.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there is no evidence of it.
No evidence that this is the only way?
There is no evidence that will be the conclusion. It is logically impossible for that to be the case.
Well, I mean, the God Emperor is going to say that it's impossible for you to understand it, right? Like, I'm
not disagreeing with him. I'm saying that, yes, I acknowledge that you're saying that this is the endpoint that will be reached. Okay, what evidence can you provide to make me believe that?
I don't need to make you believe it. I'm God. You don't have the capacity to understand.
That's a very convenient argument that any psychopath could make.
It is.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that any God would make as well, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not interpreting anything. I'm I'm saying what is here. Yes, he claims to see this. That's absolutely that's a statement that anyone could observe. He would say that. Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
no one else sees this golden path. They don't understand it.
Right.
That, in the story, like none of them, they constantly question about it. Monat is constantly questioning about it during the book and asking him, "Oh, your golden path."
No, PB. He says he sees it. He says he sees it. That is a different thing. There is no verification that he sees that, other than his own word. I don't understand what the confusion is here. I'm not saying that he's not saying it. I'm saying that there is no way for any entity to stop. It's hard to hold a conversation with the chat, and I apologize to the chat because you can't argue with someone talking in text. So I don't mean to be doing that. But okay, let me ask you as a proxy for the chat. Is it not true that there? I think you've probably already said this. Is there any? Okay. Is there any verification?
No, it's something that it's just like it's God coming down and saying.
Okay, but he's not God. We all know that. We all know that he's not God.
This is the best. This is the best plan. Like God comes down and says, "This is the best plan for you," and you say,
"In fact,
I don't see it."
He doesn't even really.
You don't have the ability to see.
Okay, but he doesn't even really claim to be God, right? I mean, well, in his own inner monologue, he knows his origin. He knows he's not an all powerful anything. He's. I guess you could claim at best that he is omniscient, but that wouldn't.
Somewhat. Close to.
Well, yes, somewhat.
Can't say everything.
Right. So he's not even that. And if we're going to just go, no, you don't have it, PB. You don't have it.
Have you? How long has it been since you read God Emperor of Dune?
It's been a while.
Yeah, me too. But you should read it again because it's mostly philosophical discussions, and a lot of these things that you are making are brought out in the book, right? Where people question him, "How do we know you're God?" And he goes, and he'll come back and he'll say this, and then at the end of the book, when they find the big spice hoard, there's all this. The Bene Gesserit are going through, and there's all this crap written on the walls. They take the spice out, and they're like, "Holy!" There's all these philosophical questions posed on the wall, and about him and his rule and his golden path, and you're like, and all the other characters in the book are like, oh geez, they're all like, getting these revelations. Maybe he's right, and, blah blah blah. So
it's interesting though, because you mentioned that like Paul didn't, he was a coward because he didn't have these things. But
that's my own theory because.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm mentioning it to the next point that your Leto actually has some of those failings too. Part of the whole, when they were trying to take him down, this whole Gola that they produced for him to be this perfect mate or whatever, right?
The girl at the end there,
right? It's like is everybody just ignoring his inner monologue that where he doesn't in his own head he's not saying that he's God. I mean,
yeah, no, you're right. But he knows more than everybody else, and he can see, and he's the only one who can take them on this path. So it's his duty to do so, sort of thing. I mean, you're right, and there's a point where I think, like you mentioned that Idaho gets beat up, and because he's not his genes are so,
right.
But
he's an older model.
He's an older model, yeah, because someone asks, I think it's. He gets asked by his major domo. He says, why do you keep having, making the Tilaxu give you these goals? He's like, it's Duncan, and I kind of got good feelings about him and stuff. He's a thing from the old days, but there's specifically mentioned in this book, in the final Duncan. He goes to there's this town that he goes to, and he sees a whole bunch of kids running around that look like him, right? And they're the kids of old Duncan Idahos, right? And the Ida Duncans usually they get pissed off at the Atreides. They say, "This is a horrible, you are a tyrant. I mean, you're a tyrant, and it's illegal." And they try to kill him, right? And there's a couple, there's references that the worm kills a bunch of the, he often rolls over the Duncan Idaho and kills them, or here's a burn from a lasgun on my face where this other Duncan tried to kill me, stuff like that. Like
right, and he knows it's coming, right? At the beginning, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's about time that he's going to try and kill me.
Yeah, but yet, I mean, not all of them do, but many of them do. and because that's what they are, but he still gets them to make them. And he knows, like there's a mention in the book where they sent, they'll actually send a Duncan. There's something wrong with it, like they programmed him to kill him or something, and right away he's able to determine that, and he kills the Duncan right off the bat. And he tells him, "Hey, no, don't send me one that's tampered with next time, or otherwise I'll kill you all." Right? Like he threatens them, and they're like, "Oh, okay, our plan didn't work. Obviously, he can tell if we tampered with him," and they only send him the good stuff after that. So, yeah. Okay.
PB, no, I'm pointing out that, and maybe I'm not understanding the opposite side of my devil's advocate position, and that is, if you all think that Frank Herbert portrayed Leto as being objectively correct. That seems to be what you're arguing. So, just let me know if that's what you think, maybe that's not what you think, but
yeah, the chat's, 10 plus seconds behind us.
No, I understand.
I understand this point here. Okay. So, I mean, my point is, I don't really think it's that important. The books are being written, Leto says this is the golden path. It can't be externally confirmed by anyone because no one else is the God Emperor. They don't understand that. They can't understand it. Should we accept something we can't confirm? I mean, it's up to you as the reader. You going to accept that this is that the God that he's right and he's following the path, or not?
I am not. Again, I made it clear. I'm taking a devil's advocate path. I'm not saying it can't be right. I'm saying that there is no way to confirm that it is right. And if you're reading these books and you say, yes, Leto, yep, that's right, he's acting effectively as God, and he's right, he did it right. I don't think that's what Frank Herbert is portraying or intending to portray.
I think it's it's purposefully left that you can have these discussions. He can be wrong, he can be right. Like you can have these discussions. Herbert is just putting it out there and saying, right, hey, this is what happens. Make your own determination if you think the God Emperor did the right thing, or if he was a tyrant and he's evil and whatever. I mean, that's what the characters in the book are making, and they're constantly making that.
Right.
The Bene Gesserit, all of them are constantly, saying this is horrible. We got to get out of this. They've given up by the time of God Emperor. They've given up trying to kill him and stuff and change it because they failed so often, and he's punished them whenever they have severely.
Well, okay,
barely.
Okay, this is an interesting point, right? I mean, the whole thing, and again, the whole reason is because the reason we're having this discussion is because we do think it's interesting and worth talking about.
Yeah.
The fifth and sixth book essentially narratively turns to, I mean, the protagonists are now the Bene Gesserit, right?
They're the true. I mean, they're the ones that only survive the first six books, right? Like,
right.
I mean, the Atreides survive too, sort of. In a sense.
Well, actually, Jewish people also survive. The Jewish tradition survives for some reason in this. In this book,
in the other books.
No, it is in this book.
That's in Hunters and Sandworms of Dune.
No, hold on.
No, it's in Chapter House. Oh, they started in Chapter House. Okay, I made. You might be right. I could be wrong. You're right. They do survive.
Which it was kind of strange that Herbert kind of brought this thing in. That it's like the Bene Gesserit basically preserved the Jewish tradition. Yeah. Yes. Secret Israel is what they call it, and that's probably a whole nother topic you could discuss and why. Yeah. But it's there for a thematic reason. It's and it's somewhat. The Bene Gesserit do survive. Leto presumably could have stamped them out, but he allows them to survive and continue. And he's gone right after this, after the fourth book. Obviously his legacy exists, but and he can't have children either. That was another thing that his sister had children, and that's
she
where
keeps the Atreides line,
right?
Going.
And
I think Outpost Nerd mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, he did.
Farad Aquino is the baby daddy. Yeah, he Leto marries his sister, but he can't have children because he's the worm. So Farad Carino actually is her husband, and they carry on the Atreides line. Yeah.
Right. So these books go pretty wild into a lot of different things, but the Bene Gesserit and their perspective kind of leads these last two books, right? I mean,
For sure.
Again,
Definitely.
who we're following as a protagonist, obviously,
It's
the
all about them.
Right. And so now
Miles Teague is a Bashir, and he works for them. Like
right.
They have their own, he's like the general of their army.
Right. And then his Gola, later on, who was a little kid. And that's weird. But
that's
let's not talk about that, right? But okay, so but I think it's important to acknowledge that Herbert chooses to change the protagonist's perspective. Meaning, if you're following the protagonist, right? That's kind of what a protagonist is that's who you're following and rooting for, I guess, in some sense. And that you're seeing things from their perspective. Well, the perspective is from the Bene Gesserit, who are the enemies of Leto and his plans for all this time, right?
Yes. Remember, he takes over their breeding program, which is their main program.
Right.
So he's kind of, carrying on with their work, but in a way that he wants to carry it on, not necessarily the way they want to. I think he's got a soft spot for them entirely. That's why he keeps them around, because everybody else gets wiped out. I think there's a bit of a thing between, and that's the sense I got from the God Emperor of Dune. I should reread it, because I think he there's some points in there where he basically says, he feels sympathetic towards their cause, right? Because they're doing their way to try to they're trying to improve humanity so it's better to survive. Now they're doing it, and they wanted to control the Kwisatz Haderach at the end so that they could carry on with their stuff. But he doesn't want to necessarily control that. He wants humanity to expand. But so I think he's got a little place, a soft spot for them. No one else though. He hates the rest of them. Okay, yeah. Do you want anything else you want to mention about Heretics and Chapter House? We are almost at our end of our usual showtime. This is what you make that point. See, I think Frank Herbert was a bit of a feminist, right? Because the Bene Gesserit are the only ones that survive the entire saga. And they use you can say, oh, they use the feminine wiles, the soft female power versus direct power, and of course modern day people would say, oh, that's wrong, and blah blah blah, women blah blah blah. But I think they're the only ones that survive, and that's why I hate when they Dune is very patriarchal. The first book and the society that is set out in the first book is very patriarchal. And the reason that, when they make the movies and they make them less patriarchal, they try to soften that and stuff by changing characters' sexes or whatever. I think that's a big mistake, because the whole point of the story is that there's this huge very patriarchal society, yet there's this small part of it that is, female-centric, completely female-centric. But that's the only piece that survives the entire saga. So every time you try to make the universe less patriarchal, you diminish that point that Herbert is making. I think he's essentially a feminist. Frank Herbert is essentially a feminist, because the women are the ones that survive. They're the only things that survive.
Yeah,
the whole saga. But anyway, that's a separate.
I don't even know how to address that. I don't understand what. PB, what your position that you think ultimately we're talking about the message of this book, or the theme that's presented. Again, it's not like you should believe this. I don't think that anybody would say that. It's very ambiguous. And you were going to mention the ending, but I don't think Herbert was like, oh yeah, Leto too. He was really right about things, and that's how things should happen. If that's what you're taking away from the books, I don't think that's the case. So my whole premise is that I'm questioning what's presented, and that the golden path is really the thing that the person enforcing it on everyone else says it is. And I don't understand why anyone would think that as a reader, this shouldn't be something we should question. Are we to just say, "Yep, character said it. I accept it." No, I don't accept it. These are. This is not a you must believe this kind of story. At least I don't see it that way. So again, I apologize. It's very hard to have a debate, between chat. So I'm sure there's all kinds of context and nuance, and I don't understand your position fully. And I will say that you don't seem to understand mine, which is fine. But my method of questioning the golden path and whether it can be confirmed is kind of key, because if you take that out, if you ask that question and the answer is, well, no, we can't really, then it brings up a whole nother sense of questions. Because again, were the Bene Gesserit right in the first place from the very beginning? Was their way the right way, or better?
What way is that? They're simply trying to improve humanity, right? But
Well,
they're also want to
yeah,
control the
ultimately.
Kwisatz Haderach at the end, right?
Okay,
So,
but so okay.
for their own purposes,
Oh,
which we don't really know what they are.
okay. Well, how do you know that they claim that their purpose is to have this greater good too, right?
Well, no, they don't actually. I don't think they actually say that. They say that we're going to breed this Kwisatz Haderach, and hopefully we want to be able to control them at the end of that time. They don't actually say why or whatever. So
I think they.
I mean, I mean, you guys are having this big.
Well, what we do know is
I don't think it's really important. I think it's it's up to the reader to decide whether is Leto a tyrant? Is he a savior of humanity? Is he? I mean, hey, that's what you're supposed to figure out.
Okay. Well, once again,
he's an unreliable worm. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's not what Herbert said. Oh, he's not saying Leto 2 was right or wrong for the real world. It's a self-contained book, and that within the series, this is the story.
He's not right within the story. Herbert doesn't say he's right within the story.
Well, I mean, Herbert's just shows this. He's just telling the story.
Right.
It's up to you to decide whether he's right. Yeah, this is it's a big can
of
worms.
Okay. Well, okay. So I guess. Oh, we're not running that late.
Yeah, we've only got like 20 something other books to talk about. And,
are we going to even go
a couple
into
movies?
Those?
I guess not.
Why? I mean, why would we? This is far
why
more
would we?
and relevant.
We are, yeah. I kind of wanted to touch over those, but
it's not like. Well, we could do it in another episode, or I guess we can rush through it now.
No, don't rush through it. Carry on.
To be honest with you, I don't.
Chat wants to.
It's two different things as far as I'm concerned. The other things versus Herbert, Frank Herbert's actual things. And that's another thing you can never really confirm. They have not provided that. No, sorry, I'm going into something else.
Yeah, I don't really care what. I mean, it's interesting, but if Frank Herbert came back from the dead and said, no, what I was really saying was X, Y, and Z, I'd be like, okay, well, that's great what you said, but I don't care. I mean, I'm reading books and I'm going to interpret the way I want, or I'm going to look at it both ways, or whatever. Because you're bringing in comments and we can discuss that and whatever. But
okay,
I meant this. Okay, well, whatever. That's
let me ask you. Okay,
Alan Moore. I don't care what you thought.
you were going to say what the end was. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yeah. Okay. So the very last part of Chapter House Dune is that one of the characters, I forget which character, encounters a male and a female, like in gardening clothes.
The No Ship does. The No Ship they're escaping.
Yeah.
Duncan and what's the girl's name?
Mirabella.
Well, her, but also
she stays. She stays.
Oh, that's right. It's the Bene Gesserit girl. The girl that was on Dune, on Arrakis.
Yeah.
The one that was talking to the worms. I forget her name.
Yeah, and they encounter a male and a female. Entities that appear to be that. We don't know what they are.
Yeah.
If Marty the hosts of chat are having fun, keep going. Yeah, for sure. We don't want to go too long. I mean, it's just, we can go as long as we want, of course, but I don't want to, get everybody bored. That's all. Yeah. So, and then that kind of ends the, the story. It just ends there. And
Oh,
of course,
okay.
Frank Herbert doesn't write any other.
But they are. It's alluded to they're a malevolent force of some sort, right? That they
Yes.
and they are escaping from them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of a great mystery that it ends on, right? We don't really know what they are, although they imply, doesn't it, that they're these, what do they call them, the advanced face dancers or whatever. Well, it was Marty and who? What was the names?
Oh yeah, okay. Here, Daniel and Marty. Okay, so you were right about there were the Jewish people in that book, because I get it mixed up because the Hunters of Dune and Sandworms of Dune all take place the same. It's basically another. Okay, so Sheena is the name of the girl who can control the worms. Her and Duncan have a thing. I think the two escape in a giant no ship with Skytail, Teague, and the Jews. Mirabella recognizes their plan in the last minute, but not able to stop them. Two mysterious entities resembling an old married couple, Daniel and Marty, whom Duncan has seen in visions, wryly note the refugees' escape. So they don't actually, I don't believe they actually confront them. It's just that Duncan has seen visions of them, and then we see them in the last, I think it's only like a page and a half. They go, oh, look, those guys escaping, blah, 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 right? And we're like, hey, who are those two? Okay.
Right. So the books end with, so how many groups have we seen come back from the scattering?
One main group.
One.
The Honored Monsters.
And what happened? Why did they come back?
Because they are the assumption that the Bene Gesserit come to, that they figure out, is that they're fleeing from something.
Mm-hmm. Right. And what's the purpose of the Golden Path? Is to make humanity survive, right?
Yeah, to scatter humans so that they can survive. They will never be in one place enough that they can be completely wiped out.
PB, I'm sure that you would be welcome as a guest to discuss this. Or
I was going to say, you want to come on the show? We, we don't mind people coming on and talking. You guys can.
Yeah, it's very hard to have a debate with the chat. It's not fair to the chat, to be honest with you.
We can set up a show where you guys can just argue about the stuff.
Yeah, and well, I don't have a hard. This is, you need to believe this.
Me neither.
I said at the beginning, this is a devil's advocate thing, which I think you read
the books and you figure out what it is you want to.
Right. What I'm trying to say here, though, is the indications are that, if again, when you say, oh, you wouldn't understand, then there's no questioning anything. It's just, if the authority says you don't understand, you have no basis for understanding, and anything that you question is invalid because you don't understand, then there's no reason to, it's all over at that point. Either you accept that or you don't. And okay, that's the end of it. So I don't like that as an explanation. But what I'm seeing, again, I'm trying to put premises to this, and the scattering is, Leto built this pressure cooker, right? That he wanted to oppress people to the point where they resisted I think they say something, he wanted it to be like instilled in their genes or something that, to not like this oppression, which is a little strange, I guess. I guess it's building on the whole thing about adversity building.
And also the earlier someone in the chat mentioned the whole, charismatic leader and people wanting to be led. PB mentioned it. Humanity to scatter and claim their agency, no longer rely on charismatic leaders.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something that's dealt with throughout. I'm a little skeptical about, hey, this is a bad thing, so I'm going to demonstrate to you it's a bad thing by being the bad thing. I
actually think that's I like that idea. I mean, I don't agree 100% with PB here. I think both of those things are true. He wants to scatter them to spread humanity out within the universe so much that it can't be wiped out, but also, I agree. Following leaders, both of those things.
I agree that the scattering isn't the end goal. The scattering is the means to the end goal, presumably, or at least a component of it. Whether there's a subsequent one to that, they never attempt to describe. But again, logically speaking, the point is, okay, so you're not going to follow this, you're not going to follow me. And part of that is that there is now within humanity some segment that will apparently propagate to a large degree, whether they die out or not, I don't know, presumably not, that you now cannot see. So part of your end goal is to include elements where you can't see it, right? It's like saying, I'm putting these pieces on the table and I don't know what's going to happen with these pieces, but I'm pretty sure that the end is going to be okay.
Yeah, but the point is that also other people can't see those pieces as well.
Well, okay. Right? This brings up a whole nother thing. It's like,
he's not the only one who can see things, right? Guild navigators can see things
to a limited degree. Yeah,
they can see,
and they've basically been wiped out, right?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean you couldn't. Well, they could still exist. Some of the ships that escaped maybe escaped with navigators. They actually still do exist. Nora actually still exists. There's guilds that could have taken off and are hiding, in the universe somewhere. And then you could also, make more of them. If you have spice, you can make a navigator, right? So the point is that, and also the Ixians and technology, if they can build a no ship, which can stop people from seeing them with prescience, then perhaps you could build something that could see things with prescience, right? Now, this gets to, I'm kind of leading towards, what is the end, problem that is the big concern about,
right?
Do you want to talk about, because there's two different, depending on which way you go, what is the big threat in the Dune universe?
Thinking machines.
Okay, so there's two separate. There's a bit of a controversy over where. So in the maybe I should just go. I'll go to my next slide. We'll ignore some of the stuff on the slide, but there's talk about the. Oh, I didn't put Sandworms of Dune or Hunter on Dune in the damn slide. Okay. So in the end, there's two novels written which are considered to be Dune 7, right? Sandworms of Dune and Hunters of Dune, and they sort of finish off the story. And they're written by Brian Herbert and Kevin Anderson, and they supposedly set up that it's actually these two. It's the thinking machines that are pushing back against the people of the scattering, the honored Matris, Erasmus and Omnius, that are pushing back because at the end of the Jihad books, these guys escape. Now, there's just before we are, we go beyond that. There's this other theory that the actual threat to humanity is it's still thinking machines, but it's actually like a hunter seeker that had prescience that could find and kill people, and that was what wipes out. That was going to wipe out humanity. That's the other theory that is the threat, but that's not the theory put forward by Brian Herbert and Kevin Anderson. All right, Cam, let me ask you, before we go on, let me ask you two questions. What two things do you need to be a Dune snob?
I don't know. What two things you?
Yep. Oh, you want to guess? Okay. Sorry. Let me ask this. How many books in the Dune series are there?
6.
6. Okay, that's the first question is answered correctly. And what's the second thing you need to be a Dune snob?
I don't know.
Okay, what is the best book? I'll ask the question. What is the best book in the Dune, in the 6 books of the Dune series?
Dune?
No, God Emperor. So in order to be a true Dune snob, you have to say that there are only 6 books and God Emperor is the best book, which is kind of funny because God Emperor is probably the most boring book. It's a bunch of talking and the worm talking, but that's the one that most Dune snobs say, oh, that's the best book. So, hey, if you want to pretend to be a Dune snob, people, we'll say there's only 6 books and God Emperor is the best book.
Here, okay, see, again, I don't, people clearly don't have the same perspective that I do, which is fine.
Trying to put a little levity into this.
Here's the question. Why would Herbert make the 5th and 6th book? You know, if
Heretics and Chapterheads?
Yeah, Herbert is he goes to lengths to present a thing and then he dismantles the thing, you know, and I it seems like no one is seeing that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just reading the whole thing wrong. The one example we see, okay, if we can agree, which apparently we can't agree on anything, but if we could agree that the scattering is a means to achieve the end of the golden path, it's a requirement. Because that, I mean, I think that's a reasonable assumption because that's what Leto orchestrates, right? I mean, it's basically his life's work to create this thing happening. And then the one example that we see, and I think Herbert only presents one, is the honored matres, and what happens with them? Well, number one, they're authoritarian, run by a hierarchical organization, which, you know, he went to the lengths of, you know, the fish speakers and all that were women because of, you know, this and that, and da 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 da. And but it seems like it didn't work out. And again, no one can portray an infinite amount of things. So an author, a storyteller, chooses to portray certain things, and the thing that I think you do have to assume is what they choose to portray is important to the story, right? Because, you know, it's like, hey, they didn't say, hey, some random person on X planet had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today, right? Because it's not relevant to the story, right? So I mean, it's just, you know, reality, of course, doesn't act that way. Reality happens without, you know, any particular focus, and you don't know until the end what's what. But, you know, so okay, he's telling the story about the honored matres and what happens with them. The one example of the scattering and what happens is that they are in fact being wiped out. They are fleeing from being obliterated. So, and he focuses on that, and that's what the second 2 books are essentially about. And, you know, it becomes this big conflict in which they then start slaughtering other people and all this stuff. And in the end, what happens? Well, Marbella they end up subjugating the honored matres to the Bene Gesserit, essentially. Or if you want to be more generous about it, you could say they merge them.
It's kind of together. A reverse takeover, yeah.
Yeah. And so now we're right. So now what's portrayed? What does Herbert portray? That they leave us with that you have the no ship taking off and seeking, they're fleeing, they're refugees, right? Do they describe them as refugees?
Yeah, basically. I mean,
they're hiding, right? They're trying to hide from this threat, whatever that is. And then you've had all this, God Emperor orchestrates this thing in which all these people leave. And then the only example we see of coming back kind of retraces, and they end up very much back to like where they started in many ways. With the Bene Gesserit.
I can't agree with that. I mean,
I'm not saying there's no lessons learned.
These are the only people that have come back from the scattering. Yeah. That doesn't mean there's millions, billions, trillions out there and other places that aren't in this situation. These are the first ones that have come back that we know of.
Okay, well, we don't know that coming back is part of the plan at all.
No, right? It's not. It's not necessarily part of the plan. But it's inevitable that some people are going to come.
So,
back
I mean, you could take
point,
this. There's
right?
a couple possibilities, right? One is, yeah, there's, there's a million groups that went out, and one came back and caused problems, and maybe it obliterates everything. I mean, let's say they did obliterate everything. Well, that's okay because the other 999,999, they're all out there, not being destroyed, and they achieved the golden path. Okay.
Well,
Maybe.
I think the golden path is achieved already.
Okay.
Everything's been scattered.
Leto
Leto has done his best to put humanity in the best possible way to survive by scattering them out and making it difficult for them to be found.
So that's the playing the odds position.
And it's inevitable that there's going to be conflict between humans back and forth. So it's inevitable that some are going to come back and try to reconquer the old empire or whatever, right?
I don't have the book in front of me. I don't remember. Is the golden path stated as being this is the best chance or this is the result? PB has mentioned various times.
He talks about his golden path.
Right.
The God Emperor in God Emperor View talks about my golden path.
Yes, he rants. He rambles about it almost,
and he
right?
doesn't really explain it to the people that are asking about it because they can't understand it. Presumably, they can't understand the cruelty that he needs to do in order to ensure humanity's survival.
Is his golden path 1,000,000 years in the future?
It's not.
Is it 1 billion?
It's not.
Is it 1 trillion?
There's no time.
Right. We don't know. Right.
No.
Okay. So once again, we're banking. We're believing that there's some point that he's
we don't
pointing
have
to.
You don't have to believe. I mean, you can believe if he's wrong or he's right. It doesn't. I mean, doesn't matter.
Well, no. I'm trying to. Maybe I'm not doing it well, but I'm trying to portray that. Something can be logically true or not, and to determine that, really, I guess you need to know some kind of parameters for it, and we don't even know what he's pointing to. Again, is the best? I guess the premise is that what's best for humanity is the ultimate goal, regardless of how horrific it is to get there. Okay. So PB says it's clearly stated by Leto that the golden path is the only path for humanity to reclaim its democracy. Oh, okay.
It's the only path for humanity. I agree with that.
But well, no,
does that mean it's true or not? Is it true or not? We don't know.
Right. Oh, but let's say
Leto
it is.
Leto clearly states that he believes this is the golden path.
Let's say that it is.
He doesn't lay it out. He doesn't say this is the golden path. This is going to happen, and this is going to happen. He just talks about I'm going to save humanity. This is the golden path, and they're like, "Yes, Lord, you're God, and we can understand it." He goes, "I can explain it to you, but you won't understand because you're just a peon." And
let's take that from the perspective of that. Yes, he is correct. Even though we can't verify that one way or another, it is. Yes, this is the thing and he has chosen this criteria for what's best for humanity. Who's to say that criteria is what's best for humanity? Is democracy the best thing for humanity? Why would you say that? Why democracy is basically majority rules, simply stated, right? Well, what if I don't want? Who says that's right? What if anarchy is the better place for humanity? What is it, or is democracy the way that leads to something else? It's like where does this go? What is it? We don't even know what it is. It's
what's the golden path?
Yeah. So
because he doesn't explain it.
But the whole point, listen to me. The whole point that I believe PB is making is that the book is stating the golden path is the thing that the author is telling the reader is the good end point that we should at least acknowledge within the story is the good end, right?
I don't agree with that.
The
author is saying that the character of Leto is saying that this is the golden path. This is the thing that has to be done, etc.
Okay. Well, that actually makes my point. Well, makes my point better. So we're really just saying that this character has decided that this is what's best for humanity.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's decided in a place because he knows. I mean, he can see the future, and he knows, and he's smarter and better than everybody else.
Okay,
he's the only one who can make this decision, and he's made the hard decision that Paul couldn't make, or wouldn't make, or whatever.
Okay, so
yeah, I agree with this first part. The contrary position, I'm not really. I don't really. Yeah.
Let's say that golden path leads to me being killed and all of my descendants not existing. Mm-hmm. So, is that other human that you pointed to more valuable than I am?
Leto wouldn't care because he is. Right. I mean, he's already sacrificed.
Yes.
Millions, billions in his golden path. He is concerned about humanity surviving, not one individual. And I don't think he really cares so much about it, except maybe, I mean, within the breeding plan, he doesn't care about an individual per se, but he needs to keep the certain genes that he keeps through the Atreides.
Okay. So is it fair to say then that he's putting the whole above the interest of an individual?
Oh, of course. Yes.
Of course. Right. Okay. So fuck him. My individual survival is more important than his stupid golden path screeching of a 9-year-old. If I'm being blunt, I don't give a shit about that because me and everyone I care about is going to die. What gives him the right to declare that what he sees as an end is more important than what I see as an end?
Interesting.
Fuck him and fuck that entire attitude.
Interesting.
And PB, if you think that I'm just being contrary for the sake of being contrary, that's your right to think that. And we could just end the discussion there, because if that's your conclusion, then there's no reason to discuss anything with me again. Right? You're saying that I'm just being contrary. I've made my arguments throughout this whole thing, various points. I realize it's a little hard to follow. We're, bouncing around and everything, but that's what my little swearing that I just said there. Sorry if you're monetized. Is because
not anymore.
This whole thing rubs me the wrong way, because I believe it, again, no one can live their life perfectly, right? But theoretically, I believe that in individualism and individual people's right to at least seek their own happiness and well-being.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's not what and it's not really I don't know that that's I don't think that's what the book is. I think that's a value.
Well, it is. It absolutely is saying that I'm going to trample billions of people's lives and destroy them and their existence because I have decided that there's something else in the future that is better for humanity as a whole. That's a generous reading of it.
No, right? I would say that is yes, that's true.
Okay.
The God.
That's what every tyrant in the world has ever said, and obviously they do describe him as a tyrant, right?
He's called the tyrant. He's called the tyrant. These are the themes that Herbert lays out for you to discuss and to look at. You sound pretty upset, but I'm not sure why you're upset, because I don't think anybody's saying. I'm not saying that the God Emperor is right or wrong. This is the story, and this is what the God Emperor
what I'm saying is
said in the story. And is he right? Or wrong?
And what I'm saying is, I, as a reader, am rejecting what this character is doing and saying. Right? I don't like this. Again, if it was, I'll take a silly example. If they're portraying a character as eating babies, well, I'm against eating babies, right? So. I don't go along with that character's philosophy and end goals.
Of baby eating. Yeah. Right. And that's fine. Like maybe I don't understand, but I'm certainly not here saying that the God Emperor is right and this is what we should do and we should sacrifice these people to. I think that's part of the storyline, and that's what Herbert's laying out for you. And you need to, people have to look at it, read it, and find it and discuss whether it was right or wrong or not. I'm just laying it out there. I'm not saying that the God Emperor is necessarily right. I mean, in the storyline, he thinks he's right. You can look back and say, "Oh, the Golden Path is successful, and therefore he was right," or you could say, "No." I mean, it could have been a better way to do it.
Sure, right, and that's my point, is to say, no, I'm not accepting just what's being presented. I'm saying, hey, what if that isn't right? And I guess that's an offensive or distasteful position to have. Okay. PB mentions.
I don't think it's offensive or distasteful. It's just, I think that's the part of what the book is discussing. It's putting out.
Right. I'm discussing the possibilities of what's presented, not just accepting one interpretation of one character who declares himself a god.
You don't have to accept it. No one, and I don't think anyone.
Apparently, I do. I guess I do.
I'm not saying you have to accept it. I'm just saying that this is what the book is laying out. Whether you accept it or not is your own thing, man. I don't think PB is saying that either.
No. I want to read what he said here. I'm seeing. He says the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, which is, of course, famously stated in Star Trek. Did Captain Kirk order Spock to go down there and sacrifice himself? Did he force him to do that, or did Spock do that because Spock decided that he was willing to sacrifice himself to do that? Because that's a fundamental difference. That's a very important difference, in my opinion. And I'm sorry if my swearing was offending anybody. I certainly wasn't directing that at anyone. But it is. I bristle. Personally, I bristle at authoritarianism.
But no one's telling you that you have
no.
authoritarianism.
No.
It's the theme of the book, and you can
you don't
reject it, or
yes, I'm rejecting it because I'm saying I'm rejecting the theory that's presented by the God Emperor. I think he's a villain. I see him as a villain, not a hero in any way.
And that's you can't. I mean,
I think
perfectly acceptable to do so. We can argue that point back and forth.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to argue it, and I'm being told that I'm just being contrary for the sake of being contrary. Which, if there's one thing that does set me off a bit is someone that basically says stop talking. I'm willing to continue a discussion all the time, but when someone says, "Oh, you're just," when someone assigns motives to me, then yes, you're right. Then we don't have anything else to talk about because I think that's out of bounds. I mean, you could argue, you could say, I think you're saying this, all day long, but don't mind read me.
All right. That's fair. I'm not trying to mind read anybody. I think these are the things that are being explored, yeah.
Okay. So PB says that he now sees what I'm going at, and yeah, fair enough. I didn't put that at the beginning of this discussion, but that is the root of what this is dislike of the authoritarian. I think I probably mentioned that when we talked about this before. Or maybe it was offline. Maybe it was just you and I that talked about it after.
I think Cam, I think Cam, you might be reading PB's made a lot of comments, but I mean, I don't feel that way about his comments that are made. Maybe you've misinterpreted some of his
fair enough. Again, it's very hard for chat to chat is at a disadvantage to elaborate on what they mean. They're limited. First of all, they're coming off in time. They have only some certain amount of text to go. So I don't want to overemphasize that. I'm just saying, as a quote here, he said, "You just want to take the contrary position." Okay, no, I don't want to just take the contrary position. I am taking a contrary position because I think it's relevant to discussing the themes and what's presented in the stories. All of this is about discussing it. People, I going just a little bit of personal history here. I'm awfully often accused of being you're getting too worried about something. I'm not worried about any of this. It's a book, and if it doesn't even exist, it's not going to hurt me. But I do believe in arguing things in a passionate way and presenting points forcefully. It's like a rough and tumble debate. It's not. There's no anger or anything to it. Well, I am angry at the idea of authoritarianism. That
sounded a
does
little
piss me
angry.
off.
You
Well,
sounded a little angry earlier.
well, I was doing it for emphasis, but yes, underlying that, yeah, I absolutely, I am angry at authoritarianism and unfairness and things like that, no doubt, because they exist in the real world. It's not because they exist in this book. It's the book just happens to be portraying those things.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Good. So we put that to bed. Again,
no,
for me,
so,
this is a discussion of the books. I'm not when I discuss Dune, we're discussing the themes of it. I'm not saying the themes are right or wrong. I'm putting, I'm putting forward that, when I say, that I think Paul is a coward because he fails to take on the role that Leto sees that is necessary. I mean, it's just a take of it.
Sorry, I want to acknowledge. PB says he says he didn't understand where it's coming from. Not mind reading you. No problem. I take you at your word that that's not what you were trying to do. And we would be happy to have you come on so you can discuss and debate things on a more equal footing, where we could actually go back and forth live. Let's see. Unbiased, omniscient ruler should have complete control, though. That's obvious. Okay. He is not really omniscient. He's partially omniscient.
Pretty close to, but not fully.
And no, I don't. This gets into all kinds of questions. Like
that's an interesting concept because what is God? Is God an unbiased, omniscient? Well, I wouldn't say God's a ruler, but
Well, okay. Oh, you're gonna catch some flack on that from certain. But
you could say that, right?
Well, there's a little bit of a difference though, because objectively, this gets into this is getting real deep philosophical questions, but it's like, well, why? Is there a such thing as an absolute right or wrong? Okay, and I don't want to state things unfairly, but essentially the atheistic position would essentially has to come down to no, there isn't. And the theist position essentially comes down to yes, there is, because ultimately this is the source of everything. So there is a basis for that. Now that's not, you don't need to apologize, PB. There's no, that's fine. But in this case, I don't think it's the same question, because Leto isn't God. Even if he's not omniscient, but let's say he was fully omniscient, it still doesn't mean that being able to see things means that you get to determine right and wrong. Absolutely. Again, right and wrong, when I'm the murdered, it's definitely wrong from my perspective. And, I would say that it's, Leto doesn't have that. He's not God. He's not even omniscient or omnipresent or omnipotent. So he doesn't have the qualifications of God.
Yeah, not as we in the Western world here understand God, right? Like the way that we would say, oh, God is, this and this, right? So he's not God in our Western sense of it.
Yeah.
Western Christian sense. Yeah.
PB brings up an interesting point. He says that, he says that he didn't understand my point about being, kind of being rooted about being against despotism, and that he's as well. But he says, Paul and Leto are. Paul is definitely a despot. He makes that clear. And Paul is much more. Now, you say he's a coward for it. I disagree with that. Paul is much more introspective. It's like, whereas Leto is not. It's like they're very distinctly different in that. And why I, again, this is loose, but that's why I say that he's a psychopath. That Leto is a psychopath, is because he doesn't question it. It's like he's saying, yes, this is the golden path, and he doesn't question it. And again, he talks about it a lot. The golden path, the golden. The way that I took the portrayal is that it is kind of giving you the sense that he is very convinced of his own creation.
I'm not sure. Yeah, he's convinced somewhat. I'm not sure if he's 100% convinced, but I think he doesn't see any other way, and he knows that there's no one else that can see another way. So, he needs to go through this. And I would say that.
Well, okay, wait a minute. But
I say Paul is a coward in the sense that if you agree that the golden path is necessary and it is the only way, then he cannot make that decision. And my suggestion is that his humanity is what's, his humanity, his ties to his family and that kind of thing makes it more difficult for him to make that decision. And Leto is more able to make that decision because he doesn't have those same ties. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have all this, background noise, so to speak, that keeps him rooted to humanity. Right. And that's part of
that's part of a good thing, though.
Well, yeah, maybe not. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. And remember, if you reread God Emperor, that theme is through the book, where him losing his humanity and not, connecting with these humans. And as he's, gets older and he becomes more of the worm, he's less able to, work with them. And you see that in some of the characters around him. So. That's another thing.
I mean, but he comes up. The golden path thing comes up before he's merged with the worm, though.
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
Again, I just thought the outs. I mean,
I forget when do are the twins? I forget. Are the twins born with the ability to with the Bene Gesserit ability to see all the? I think they're born with it, are they?
Yeah, I think they have
like Alia, they're born with it, or do they get it later? I forget. I'm not sure.
Let me answer.
No. There's a point where they are given spice, I think. That they have to,
I don't remember exactly. Again, I get mixed up between some of the different portrayals, but PB says, putting aside that Leto is a cruel ruler, which he says he has to be, do you think Herbert at least made a consistent story? I always thought it was a morally gray story. I absolutely think that he set out to make a morally gray story. And I would say, even though, like Snob said, he's portraying Leto as saying, this is the golden path, this is this. I don't think that Herbert is necessarily saying that. I think that he absolutely is saying, here's these things happening, what's right about this. And, it's a tough hill to climb to say that my goal is good. I'm going to just use very broad terms here. My goal is good, so I'm going to commit a whole lot of evil to achieve that good. That's you can't, the old phrase, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, certainly exists. So it's along those lines. But this is a religious philosophical question: is, can you achieve the greater good by committing immense evil? Well, that's communists talk about the greater good all the time, right? And it's like, well, there's a trail of bodies behind them, and I'm
So Alito's golden path. He sees the golden path in in some spice-induced visions. He sees a myriad of ways that possible futures for humanity, and only where they become extinct, and only one where they survive, which he dubs the golden path, and that's the way he decides to bring to fruition.
There's a premise in there: is the extinction of humanity bad? And I think humanity, the answer would be yes. So us continuing is good, right? Unless you're a misanthrope.
I think we have to have that.
I think we have to accept that as a minimum. That's a premise that we can go
to
with.
Keep yourself going. I mean, if you do,
Right. I mean, now some other, let's say they don't have aliens in this world really, but, you could say, well, an alien might say, no, humans are a scourge and we want to get rid of them.
Yep.
But right then, well, again, I guess not because there aren't aliens. Oh, but okay, let's say about the thinking machines though. The thinking machines might say, yeah, getting rid of humanity is the best thing. Okay, from their perspective, maybe it is. But
yeah,
absolutely.
The thinking machines are not portrayed as any, as that. They just seem to be power hungry. They don't seem to be, which might be a weakness, that they just seem to take over because they take over, right? Like because they want to take over.
Yeah.
Or they'll be better. They'll run humans better, but then they treat humans like, experiment on them and kill them or whatever. They don't care. That's a different.
To further answer PB's comments here, absolutely. I would not be spending my time on talking. Let me give you an example. I don't talk about Starfleet Academy really because it's not worth my time. So, this is worth my time. These are classics and raise a lot of these things. And I think the fact that they do raise them and you can debate them is one of the strengths, not a weakness of it. So the whole issue about, does an author or a creator of some sort accomplish what they claim they set out to accomplish? That's not really, I'm not directing that at Herbert specifically. I think he's, near the top of authors, sci-fi authors. So that wasn't meant to do that. There are other examples I can name, but that's open another can of worms. But it is a danger in storytelling. It's like, what you set out to do and claim you want to do isn't always what you accomplish, just as a general rule.
Yeah. All right. I think we're at 2:30. We might have to do this as a second part.
Do you want to take just 5 minutes to kind of just mention the other things and see if people are interested in it, the other books? Because these are the books written by Frank Herbert, and then the other books that you showed are not.
No. Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm pretty skeptical of these. I think I mentioned to you when we were talking that I read the House novels and the Jihad novels. I did not read any of the others.
Okay, so let's take a few minutes. So now, Frank Herbert is rumored to have left detailed notes about the world of Dune. That he did a lot of. I mean, they mentioned specifically that I don't have it on here, but Sandworms and Hunters of Dune were set up as Dune 7 when he died, and he had detailed notes. But I also believe he did a lot of work before that in laying out the characters and their backstory, that kind of thing. Because my view, I've put the novels here in their in their publishing order, and my feeling is that I've read many of them. I don't think I've read the Kaladin novels. I've read the school novels. I don't think I read Princess of Dune. But I've read, the House novels seem very close. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Cam. Tell me your opinion as well. The House novels seem very close to, what you think happens. Like the House Atreides talks about, Leto's father and how he dies, and those things are mentioned in the novels. They all seem to line up. House Carino talks about how the Emperor Shaddam IV became emperor. Those seem to all fit. House Harkonnen talks about the Baron when he was younger and pretty before he got really fat. And why he becomes fat, and that all seems to tie in. So like my sense of reading those novels was that they were very much based on the characters that we see in the Dune novel, and that they were based on the backstory of that. Would you agree with that, or would you?
I agree with the basic premise, but I think you could probably write those based on very little in terms of detailed notes, and if anything, they come across a little fan fiction-y to me. You know, it's
Really?
like,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say they're bad. They were okay, but it's like, um, they're they're just kind of plot driven stories. They're not
Yeah.
deeply thematic. It's
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of
Okay. So that's the biggest point between the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson novels versus Frank Herbert. No one really writes like Frank Herbert the way that he does themes and interweaves them. Kevin J. Anderson, I think he's a good author, but his stuff is, like you said, is very plot driven. The characters, this happens, and it goes on like that. So I see a very a big change between these novels and the Frank Herbert
yeah.
novels,
The- it-
and
it-
they're written like, if you read Kevin J. Anderson's other stuff, and I've read a bunch of his stuff, it's very much like almost like a movie, in a sense of, I mean, it's not quite a movie, but you could see this as a movie, right? Character does this,
Mhm.
happens, and then things happen, and it's
Yeah.
not a lot of philosophical discussion and that kind of thing. So they're very much what you said was very much. All of these novels are very much that way. They're like, and I've
Yeah.
said, no one writes like Frank Herbert. I mean, it's just the way that he does it. And some people find it difficult and a pain in the ass reading his stuff because it's, not written in but Kevin J. Anderson, Brian Herbert, these novels are written like you would expect a normal book to be written.
Yeah. Like Tolkien, the depth.
Yeah. Tolkien would be that as
behind,
well too, right?
yeah.
He doesn't write like a normal person.
Right. And PB he says Brian Herbert made the claim that his dad left notes, but no one has ever actually seen these notes. Calls
No,
BS
that's
until
true.
they're produced.
That's true.
Yeah, that's I
That
don't
is very true. But
I
I
don't want
kind of
to.
think it was because I think there's a lot in the first House novels that seem very similar to like what you'd expect. They're not written in the way that Frank Herbert would necessarily write them, but the other stuff happens, and it seems to happen, in a reasonably way that you'd expect.
I would not be surprised to, or I could believe that there are notes that he left,
Yes.
that exist. I am extremely skeptical that this list of books here in any way represents whatever notes exist.
Yeah.
I just
So my theory is that the further we get, like every book written gets farther and farther away from notes, and these recent ones might have nothing. There might be no notes at all, right? So I mean, and that's what would happen, right? If you were given, if someone, if you were Tolkien's son, Tolkien dies, and he's got all these notes, what are you going to do? You're going to take the notes, and you're going to write, the books, and then as you get run out of notes, it's going to become more and more away from that. So,
well, okay,
that's my theory
but
about it.
but Christopher Tolkien didn't do that. He
I'm-
extensively went and analyzed these things, and other people have seen them.
Sure.
It's
I'm not trying to shit on Tolkien or anything. I'm just
no,
saying,
I'm
if
not.
you were
I'm
in that
just
situation, that's what you would do, right? Like,
I'm saying that what Christopher Tolkien did was not what Brian Herbert did. It's a different form of what their approach to dealing with the material left behind.
well, we don't know exactly how Herbert did it, because you're right.
Well, no, what I'm saying is he wrote
It
novels.
does seem that way.
He wrote novels and said this represents what my father's notes were. Christopher Tolkien really didn't write novels. He said I mean, that's why the Silmarillion is so difficult for a lot of people, is because it is not like a narrative that was put together to be a novel. It's bits and pieces, and some things are coherent on their own and others aren't, and there's a lot of different versions which he's produced as well. So this is more like saying, oh yeah, I did the work and this is what he wanted, this is what as opposed to saying, well, here it is.
So I'm generally positive towards the House novels. The Jihad novels, I mean, I think it's interesting how the Butler and Jihad, like, it's a big thing we all want to know. I kind of would assume that Frank Herbert would put a lot of that information into notes for himself to refer to if he ever wanted to. But some of the books, you've read them, they kind of wander aimlessly, and a lot of shit happens. And you're like, is this really necessary? Is this really gonna,
well, it seems
all this stuff with the what are they called, the machine, the humans and machines beforehand. You're like, the Cymex. Really, is that really part? Like, is that like, it just seems to not fit,
Yeah, I agree. Thematically, they don't fit. It's like are there some elements that were written somewhere like maybe, but it's like this is
yeah. And I mean, they do talk a bit, there's some talk about, we meet Holtzman and the whole, his invention of the Holtzman engine. Okay, maybe he invented it halfway through the jihad in order to, and that was basically, how we travel and save the world,
into an absolute clown.
He's a bit of a clown. That's true.
No, he's an absolute. It's like he steals ideas. He's just like an accidental genius.
Almost. Yeah.
None of that rings true with anything that any indication that we saw.
I mean, there's some things about, like, I think there's some aspects of the guild that might work. There's
it all seemed a little too
the start of Chom, but yeah, you're right. I mean, what about, have you read any of the Schools novels?
No.
They talk about how how the Sisterhood started, the Mentats and the Navigators, and there's a lot of run on from, because in the Jihad novel, that's where the Sisterhood starts. That's where Mentats.
Well, the Mentats are kind of started there too.
Yeah, and Navigators are started there too as well. But do you know, like, the Sisterhood starts by a bunch of women on Rossack who have telekinetic abilities, right? Like, that's how they start. And then Mentats is, they eventually they find a memory cube of Erasmus, and that's what they use that to teach Mentats. So it's like the robots have invented Mentats. So
I don't know. It just I don't want to crap on any of these guys, either of these guys, but it's just not there, man. This is the stories on their own, they're not bad. I enjoyed them. The Jihad ones I'm talking about, but it's like, I don't know. It just, if someone put that in front of me and said, oh yeah, this is what Frank Herbert planned for the, first of all, I have no real reason to believe that he ever planned on writing prequels of this nature.
Yeah.
At all.
I'm not saying that he planned to either. I think he might have had notes on what happened so that he could refer to him, to keep himself on track and stuff. That makes sense, especially the house novels, because he's going to go, okay, Leto is like this. How did he get there? Oh, his dad was like this. His dad dies. His dad, has this, Leto, in the Atreides novels, Leto is a kid, he goes to Ix, he's buddies with the Ixian guy. But, okay, blah, blah, blah. Like, that makes sense. But
see, we know that PB's mentioned here that there is the appendices of the Dune that does provide some of this information. So some of it is there, like he mentions the Butlerian Jihad. That's specifically mentioned, but
we know these things exist.
The Butlerian Jihad was not at all described in detail, and no. I if I'm being blunt, it seems like kind of a low-grade sci-fi version that they decided to go with. It's like, oh yeah, there was these mechs, and and then it's a thinking machine. It's like the thinking machine idea was like the most conventional, trite version you could come up with. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a power man computer that wants to kill people. It's like,
and they will have the evil robot that's independent, and he can torture people so that everybody will have a big jihad. And kid was killed.
Exactly. It seems so basic, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe it. I don't believe that. It's not to say that there weren't notes. I think there were. I'm saying
I think there are notes,
doubt.
but These
doubt
novels are not. No, of
those
course, they're
novels
not
were
written
what he wrote.
exactly the way that. No, I mean Herbert left some notes. Frank Herbert left some notes about him. Is this exactly how the way that they're written? Is that exactly how it happened?
Yeah,
I don't think. I doubt
now.
it. I like I said, the House novels I think are probably the details of the various characters, they're how they die or get from point A to point B, or their character, their way they think everything. I can believe some of that, but did it exactly happen that way?
Well,
I mean, does it really matter? Like we know Leto's dad is killed by a bull. And it's a Harkonnen plot, right?
Yeah.
Because the tips of the bull, I think, are poisoned. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, of course, the Harkonnens are trying to kill him. But did it happen exactly this way? Well, who cares? That's not really that important. But
yeah, I think they took nuggets and they greatly expanded on them. And
yeah, you'd have to.
But okay, so Dune 7, that's how they referred to it way back before these other books came out.
Before, yeah, Sandworms and Hunters of Dune, those two novels,
right? And then
which take place right after Chapter House Dune.
Right. I didn't read those, and those are the ones that I would say are most likely to have had specific notes, right? Because obviously, you wrote a novel and it's like, yeah, you planned ahead, and there's more. Because obviously, Chapter House does kind of end undefined. But then, well, what? Okay, we're in the spoiler territory here, I guess. But okay, so who's Daniel and Marty?
They are the machines from the Battletarian Jihad, Omnius and Erasmus.
Omnius and Erasmus, right? It's like, I have to tell you that I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, I think the premise makes sense, right? So at the end of the Jihad novels, they beam themselves. I mean, this is a little bit, but Erasmus beams his consciousness somewhere far into somewhere else in the universe. I mean, that sort of makes sense that he might have these, remote set up somewhere that he could do that if he was ever losing. And then rebuild himself over these thousands of years somewhere, God knows where. But yeah.
I would have I don't believe it. Outright, I'm just like, I really can't believe it. I mean, I really don't want to piss on these guys, but it's almost an insult to Frank Herbert's work and what it appears like. I could be completely wrong. It's like, yeah, maybe he did do that. It's like, oh yeah, I had this idea where there were this robot and this computer, and they had this whole plot, and I put this hook for it in the end of my book, of Chapter House, and wow, I was gonna have this really wild sci-fi, thing. It's like, it just doesn't match any of the themes, that were going on with this.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to bet on it, I would say, it's extremely unlikely that that's what he had outlined. I'd love to find out.
So who are those two then at the end of the?
I don't know. But it doesn't seem awfully convenient that it's like, oh, we wrote this novel about these two bad guys that escaped.
They write. I mean, again, these novels have been planned. These. They plan these. I think they plan these out. I mean, I'm not saying. Okay, so Hunters. Okay, so the Jihad novels came out in 2002 to 2004. And then Hunters of Dune was 2006, and Sandworm was 2007. So, I think they probably had information for Hunters and Sandworms, but.
And you think that it was Erasmus and Omnius?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Okay. Well,
I think he had plans. Hunters and Sandworms are a bit rambling too. They're a bit, long, and you're like, oh, they're in this, Duncan and Sheena are in this no ship forever for 2 books. Two books of like 400 pages. You're like, all right, geez, they go over here and there, and then they wait here for years.
The one thing in Chapter House, they did, what was the Talaxu guy's name? I forget. Sky, whatever his name was.
Skytail. That's his name in that's the guy's name in the first in Messiah, Skytail.
Oh, is it? Well, whatever.
He's one of the clones, the Golas in Hunters and Sandworms. He's one of the Golas that they.
Okay, the guy in Chapter House, the Talaxi that's with them in Chapter House. What's his name? Well, whatever his name is, they mentioned that he has this capsule or whatever that has like these genetic information on Paul and all these people.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, so right. I mean, you could say at least, well, okay, that's there, because then they do end up.
It's Skytail as well. You're right.
Okay,
it is Skytail in Chapter House.
So that part is set up, but. I don't. I think I read a summary of it or something at point, but with Paul and Chani at the end and all that stuff, it's like, really, is that?
Well, he's got all this. Supposedly, he's got all the genetic information. They use it. They grow the Golas, and then the idea is they're going to bring them back to their. They're going to do the thing on them that lets them regain their memories, the stress that they used for Duncan, Idaho, and then they'll use them to save the world, so to speak, or stop the threat. All the best people in the world, in the universe, can come together and
Doesn't that sound like a teenager's? Oh, wouldn't it be awesome if they all came back and they did this whole big team up thing? And does that sound like Frank Herbert to you?
Well, the thing is that it's really Duncan, Idaho saves the day, right? Like he's the one that becomes the. I don't know. You don't read these?
Well, no. I didn't read them, but I know he becomes like the. He merges with them and all that shit.
He's the Kwisatz Haderach, so to speak.
Right.
He's the one that is, controls the machines, destroys them, whatever.
Well, which is repeating basically the Merbella kind of thing with merging the, the Bene Gesserit and the Otter Metras.
Yeah. I do like how the face dancers take over. And kill they basically take over and they become so good that they are able to the Tilaxu masters. They're able to kill them off one by one and take over them, and so everybody's a face dancer, right? Like Tilaxu's. That's pretty.
That's
kind of.
I don't think this can rightfully fall into the debate about the Golden Path that we were having earlier, but it's like. It doesn't fit at all. This whole thing, and again, it's like I don't know. It just does not at all fit thematically with the other books, in my opinion. I mean, okay, so if you're Frank Herbert, you're gonna write 7 books, because if that was the original intention.
I don't think so. I think he writes and he just keeps. He's like, oh. What's the next part of the story?
Well, but clearly 5 and 6 were very connected,
And I think he was planning to write a 7th when he died, when he passed away.
Sure.
Died,
but
he was working on it or something.
Okay, yeah. Wouldn't you say it was reasonable that by the time he was writing 5, he had 7 in mind?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so.
But he might not have put it down, or put down a very bunch of notes.
Okay, and how likely do you think it's like, oh, I'm presenting this enemy at the end of 6, and then what they really are isn't described in 7. I mean, it's not established in 7. It would have been established in 3 prequel novels. That's like, I don't think so.
Well, it seems I think it's possible. Like he could have said, okay, well, these guys, I'm going to put, I'm not sure why we'd have 2, but these are going to represent, the machine. The machines are the biggest threat to humanity. That's why we had the jihad, but they're going to come back. I'm going to use, this is going to represent the machines, but it's kind of strange to have 2.
No, I don't think at all. I think the Butlerian Jihad was kind of a foundational thing to provide the reasoning for many of the elements of the story, and that it was never meant to be, oh, and they come back. You know, that's it seems absurd to me as a premise.
All right. Interesting.
I have no way of proving that, of course.
No,
It's
of
just,
course.
it seems just really amateur. And again, I'm sorry, I don't want to disrespect Brian Herbert or Kevin Anderson, but it's kind of mid-grade sci-fi premise, kind of stuff.
All right. Well, we better end the show before Cam gets us in trouble with.
Yes.
Those guys come after us. Yeah, we're losing the audience anyway. We're 49 minutes over our normal time. Okay, I think that's it for the show. We'll have to talk about, maybe we'll do this next week, but I had other plans for next week, but Cam and I have to talk about and we didn't get to talk about the movies. We could save that for
Wait,
later.
what are we doing next week? I forgot.
Well, I suggested something to you, but we didn't talk about it in detail. But but
are you gonna?
You had a different idea too. We'll talk.
Since there's now there's only 3 people watching. Should we announce our new show?
What's our new show?
Oh, forget it. We're not gonna talk about it.
Oh, we have a new show. Okay. Well, we'll talk about. Okay, I think I know what you mean, but we haven't talked about it in detail about what we're gonna do or nothing. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about this after, and we can announce it on Wednesday or something like that. Let's just make sure we're on the same page. Okay, that's it. So we're gonna have to talk a little bit more about this. I think we kind of went over the Brian Herbert, Kevin J. Anderson novels enough. I wouldn't mind talking a little about the movies. I'm not sure if that's a whole show or anything, and then maybe we can get PB to come on and we can talk about some of this in detail. I think it would be a good discussion. Talk about we'd have to get set up on what themes we're going to talk about and stuff. Hey, let's talk about these themes. Oh, Cameron again on the keyboard. Okay, but that's good. All right, excellent. I think Brian Herbert changed the story to pave the way for his novels. Could be. Yeah, it's good points. All right, we'll talk about that offline, and that's it for the show, everybody. Cam, you got anything else?
I had a household tool anecdote, but I guess I'll save it for next week.
All right. Check us out on Wednesday for Babylon 5. What are we talking about? Is it Shippeteer? No, we did Shippeteers already. Interludes and examinations, right?
Yeah.
Interludes. Oh, we're getting close to the 2. Oh, that's 2 in a week.
Yeah.
All right. We're getting into the deep stuff. Okay. I think I watched a little bit of interludes, like the first 5 minutes. So, yeah, things are heating up. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching the show. Sorry we went so far over.
And the lively chat. The lively chat is always appreciated.
We appreciate the chat. Thanks, guys. You make the show. We love putting stuff out there. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night, and see you on Wednesday or next Sunday.
Yep. Good night.